Okay, councillors, so welcome everyone back. Thank you very much, and our public gallery for sharing some nice morning tea. Once again, councillors, I need to make councillors aware that this meeting is being video recorded as usual practice. Councillors are required to use the microphone to enhance the sound of the recording and play on back. So I do share that with everyone, and to make everyone aware that we do record our meetings, except for our confidential. Councillors, before I do open the meeting, and I apologise, Councillor Forbes, I do thank you for the last 12 months as Deputy Mayor, and I apologise for not doing that before, so thank you. Councillors, opening prayer, we give thanks for the contribution by the pioneers, early settlers, from those who have fought in the various wars for the fabric of Townsville community we have today. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be accepted in God's sight. Amen. Acknowledge the government. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land that we're meeting on today. I'd also like to pay respect to those both past and present of the Juckawal, Camilla, and Rangelung nations, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people present. Councillors, we have no apologies. Is there any disclosures or declarations of interest? No. Councillor, the confirmation of the previous minutes, item MIN2/18. Would someone who was in attendance at that meeting like to move that they are true and correct record, please? Councillor Bob Roden, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Sawyer. All in favour? Against? Carried. Yep.
Yes, please.
That's not right, in that report. Oh. Yep. Councillors, there is an urgent and with the table of documents in your reports, councillors. Yeah. In your reports, it's number 8, attachment number 8. It actually was an old report and it's been updated. So can I have a move and a second to accept this tabling of this document, please? Councillor Gary Berry, move, and seconded by Councillor Tom Peters, and I thank you. All in favour, councillors? Against? Thanks, Scott. Urgent late supplement items. Got business? None, councillors? Councillors, community consultation. We do have a couple of speakers, which we normally do and fully support to do with our monthly report. So in our public access session, we do have Heidi Ford. Heidi is our property, building and landscape coordinator. So, councillors, please stand and welcome Heidi to our chamber, please. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Thank you for having me present this morning. As you're aware, I look after the building and amenities portfolio, of which we have 115 buildings and amenities. Of these, we actually own 78. And in accordance with the operational plan, we're working on the development and delivery of the building and assets management plan at the moment. So it's anticipated that for that project. We have commenced some audits and some maintenance and repairs has resulted from these audits. We've looked at the band hall, the commercial buildings 134 and 136 Manor Street, some residential dwellings, the School of Arts, the depot, admin building, and some of the community halls around the Shire. And we do feel that our auditing will be improved with some external resources. So I've just got some images of the capital works projects that we're looking at this year. So we've got the chambers and admin building refurbishment. These are just some photos of the existing office at the moment. and we've looked at some spatial planning as well as some grant funding opportunities at this stage. We haven't commenced it any further pending the grant funding at the moment, and we're looking just at developing the brief for the chambers with regards to that funding opportunity also. We've got the external painting for the council houses, so we're developing scope of work and scheduling a scope to be finalised prior to us obtaining any pricing for that. This is some works that we've recently completed in council houses, just some upgrade to the kitchen with appliances and some joinery work. Site investigations have been carried out at all three residential properties at the moment, and they'll have a bit of a list, so we're working through that. We've got the School of Arts window restoration project, in which we received grant funding. So the tender's closed for that, and we're just finalising the negotiations, or finalising the understanding of the contract prior to being signed at this stage. So it's anticipated that we will commence these building works this year. We've got the cemetery. We've been working on the cemetery niche wall and rose garden, and I've been working with Mark Cooper in relation to that, and that's progressing nicely. I don't have any photos, don't know if you do there, Mark, so I'll leave that for you to talk about. But we've been collaborating, and that's progressing really well. Another one, if you just go back to the shed, thank you, Nolene. The 10 shed, you can see it up the top there, that was the existing structure. It's since been demolished and the slab's been laid and the steel framework's been erected. So we have ordered the cladding, and we've got a specialised steel cladding that replicates a timber looking facade, so that it keeps in line with our heritage area. So we're progressing on that at the moment. So our property portfolio also manages Crown land in the Shire, and the Department of Industries has awarded council a grant of approximately $55,000 to assist with the plans of management that's required for each parcel of land. We're in the progress of identifying and confirming the parcels at the moment, and all of the plans of management are to be completed by the end of financial year 2021. So Jennifer and I attended the Crown Land Management training last month in Armidale, and that's assisted with our understanding of the changes to the Crown Land Management Act and the requirements with the plans of management for parcels of land. Just with regards to our budgets, our annual operating income is on target. However, we're in the process of forecasting income from our assets to have a better understanding of the monthly and quarterly impacts. Our operating expenditure is as predicted at the moment, and our capital expenditure at the moment is a little bit low, but it's to be expected without the engagement of our external consultants at the moment and the early stages that our projects are in. So we anticipate that this will increase once we further in the development of the projects. The swimming pool is also in the portfolio, and this is considered to be in a moderate condition. In accordance with the operational plan, we have prepared a management plan for baths, and this was, as you know, adopted in April, the draft of it at the council meeting. We have a new contractor appointed, so we anticipate that it might change slightly. So we're just working on getting the new contractor settled in at the moment. We also have developed the contract management plan, and that's identified measurable key performance indicators for the contractor and also a scope of works. These documents help us implement the monitoring and reporting of the pool. They also reflect the requirements and expectations in which the baths are to be managed, and they formed part of the tender package that was released. Just Sports and Fitness were awarded the new contract, and have been inducted into the pool 2 weeks prior to opening, and they've received a thorough handover from Jeff Moss, the former contractor, and they continue to accept his help and support, which is great. It's been really good to see, actually. The new phase of the pool has highlighted some maintenance to be addressed and has provided us to see the pool through new eyes. So the next slide there, Nolan, shows some of the maintenance issues that have been highlighted to us. We've got water quality testing and supervision, and they remain key core deliverables. The pool is on track to open on the 29th of September, and after having many high risks, we've overcome them, being the pool reconditioning and repair. So that's been installed and now working, and of course the new contractors also. The building and the grounds are prepared, and the pool is being filled and cleaned, and it's in the process of being balanced for the new season. The capital works for the swimming pool include the development of the master plan, and we're planning on doing this in conjunction with the pool contractors. The budget adjustments are expected to be revealed in the quarterly budget review. So thank you very much.
Councillors, I will afford the time if there was any questions to Heidi to do with the report. Councillor McDish, yes?
Heidi, just your predecessor, I believe, was asked for a list of council assets and the rental value we're getting from them. 2 items were left off it totally. Can I mention the name of those places?
Of course you can, Councillor.
One was the Tropical Bendals just on the south side of town here. The other was a 40-acre block near the sewage treatment works.
These are parcels of land that council owns.
Parcels of land that council owns, which were not mentioned in that report that Councillor Bronwyn Petrie requested. So I assume they're on the register now, are they?
Yes, we're fully aware. Is that working? Sorry. Yes, we're fully aware of them, and they have been added to our list. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions, Councillor. Councillor Berry, yes?
Just a question about the IT, Heidi, looking at data there on the bottom right-hand corner. Is there any scope for using wireless for a lot of the IT stuff, or is it impossible? I've got no idea with that.
That would be a detailed question for Paul Della, who's our IT and finance manager. I have mentioned it to him, but at this stage it's not something that we're pursuing.
Any other questions to Heidi, councillors, to do with her presentation? Heidi, just thank you very much for the presentation. One for myself, to do with the shed just out here, so councillors are aware, obviously council own that area, and we own the Tenepet radio station, the house. We're in a lease agreement with the radio station. Councillor Tom Peters does a wonderful job as our representative in attending those meetings, and thank you, Councillor Peters. The only question is, it's only for clarity, I'll put you on the mat. That was funding from, it was SRV money that paid for that shed, and it was before your time.
Yes, it was.
It was, and just once again for clarity, so the council is aware that it'll be shared, council will be using it for storage also, or is it?
Yes, that's correct. There's a petition that will go through the centre, and half of it will be for the radio station, and the other half for ours, or for the council.
Thank you. Councillor Bronwyn Petrie.
Thanks, Heidi. I was just wondering also behind Kevin Henley, there was one bit of discussion at one stage about extending the car parking there. Is that still a potential now that it's all been cleared and flattened, or not?
To use like the Southern car park is used, councillor.
Mr. Mayor, it's not on my radar. I don't know whether it's on anyone else's radar, but it's the first I've heard of it.
No, it had previously been discussed about extending the car park, which is why when I saw them there, I thought that might have been actually what they were doing, then I realised they were building a shed. The other thing, the building at the Stanyards, where the agents and people can go, it's due to be replaced sometime in this next this current financial year. Are we looking at or getting a decent amount of all there, or not projected at this stage?
That's something that Mark Cooper and I haven't discussed at this stage, but we're aware of it.
Okay. There's no more questions. Heidi, once again, thank you very, very much. I wish you well in your endeavours with your job, and all the best. And I know you're always busy, and a great asset to our council and the team that our CEO, Mr. Terry Dawes, has put together, and you're one of them. So I do thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and thank you everybody for their time this morning. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, we do have with our public access, we do have another very, very special guest, Mr. Mark Cooper. Mark's the head honcho of Open Space, Regulatory and Utility Supervisor. Please stand and welcome Mr. Cooper to our chamber. Welcome, Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Morning, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Through my role and my operational plans, I'm involved with 3 different blocks. So if you go to page or section 11, the first one will be environmental management. I'll just come down in sort of sequence order.
Have you got a page for that, or?
Page, I'm not sure.
71 councillors.
Yeah.
We've got a group, thank you.
Section 11.
Yep.
So I'll just give you a little quick, brief overview of the weed side of it. With our weed man, as we all know, it's very dry this time of the year, so not beneficial to go and spray anything unless it's really urgent. So our weed man has been busily doing property inspections. We have sent out many letters to landholders within the Deepwater area, and he's conducted a lot of property inspections up that way, finding mainly serrated tussock and a little bit of Parramatta grass. So that's where Chris has been quite busy doing that side of it. He still heads up around the Yabra Forest, Tulum area, looking for any further outbreaks of tropical soda apple. But one thing that Chris has actually flagged, which is with the amount of dry feed that's coming into the area now, in relation to what weeds is going to bring to the area when we're getting, hay from Victoria, hay from the coast or wherever it may be. So that'll probably be a big concern, and no doubt when it starts to rain and all these seeds pop up everywhere, he'll be quite busy trying to identify what they might be. So let's put up a quick overview with Chris. On his communication side, he has just recently got his new computer laptop with the GIS on it to start mapping systems, and we're actually looking at the opportunity to maybe purchase a drone to help with a lot of his weed identification and outbreaks within the river systems that he can't possibly get to, where it would make it a lot easier. And on speaking on that too, he did mention that an option again would be to maybe see if we could purchase a buggy or a 4-wheeler or something to get into some of these remote areas that are just completely impossible to get in with a normal vehicle. So that's sort of a very quick overview of what Chris has done. Now on the regulatory side of the environmental management, on the same one, between the ranger and myself, we deal with the feral pests, which this time of the year is a really big concern in relation to the amount of complaints we get in relation to rabbits. So the rabbits around town are pretty much running rampant at this stage, to the fact that we've got to go down on some of the sporting fields prior to the sporting on the weekends to make sure that there's no divots and burrows. And we have actually had an instance where it was reported that a child did actually sprain their ankle before falling in a rabbit hole. So I've approached, there's no quick fix as to how we can alleviate the rabbit problem. So where possible, we fumigate the burrows if we know where they're living. But if that's not doable, the only action to take is to destroy it, to shoot it. So what I've done is nothing to do with council side of the work. You may have heard, I talked to the sergeant of police, whoever's on the night of, and I just drive around down the parks, and if they're lucky enough to be on the park, they're very unlucky to get away. So that's about the only way we can control it, and it seems to work. So that's probably the biggest one in relation to the feral the feral pests. But there are, as I say, our cat traps are always out all the time. We do have problems with Indian miners are another big one at the moment. And then that's sort of probably the bulk of it. We do have every now and then a fox problem where we might have chooks that are killed and they're always blaming town dogs. But you know, the next instance I'll say, well, I seen a fox run across my backyard yesterday. So it's more to do with the pest, feral pests than the local dogs. So with our illegal dumping, footpath enforcements and that kind of stuff, we always try to, with an illegal dump, clean it up, get an action as soon as possible, because one dump leads to two dumps, and before you know, you've got a huge illegal dumping site. So there's a lot of work goes into that when they're first notified, because naturally if we can find a perpetrator, which is what we need, someone to actually write the infringement to and pay the bill, that's what we like. But a lot of times they're getting cagey now, and they don't need any identification, so which is just a cost to council, but it's something that we're really passionate about, that we need to get on top of it so that our town doesn't look like it, or the area doesn't look like it. As for our vouchers and so forth, I thought by doing away with the vouchers, we might lose or increasingly a lot of our illegal dumps, but fortunately we haven't had any reported this month, which is good. So that's pretty much the environmental management side. Probably if you look at the pictures on the back, I've just got a couple on there about the big job we did in East Street on the amount of privet that was there in a paper road that was notified to council. So we spent 2.5 days there, chipping up metres and metres and metres. I think it would have been in excess of about 35 metres of chip out of the privet that we actually cut down, and we've got a lot to go there. But that's an ongoing one once it rains again. So that's the environmental management side one. So just want to ask anyone wants to ask any questions on that one before we go to the next one, or you just want to fire them all together?
Oh, well, I think we'll box it in at the end.
Okay. So my next one is the sale yards, livestock sale yards, which is number 12. I don't have a page for that one either. So it's just it's the next one on. The sale yard, as we all know, this time of the year is always quiet, and possibly will be a lot quieter due to the drought conditions and so forth, where a lot of people have already offloaded a lot of stock. So as the welfare, as we all know, like our sale on Monday just gone, 98 head. So it's just, you know, we need to have them. If we don't have them, people will take the cattle elsewhere. So we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't, but we just need to provide a service for it. So just going through the operational plan for that one, everything's pretty much on track. As you can see, we've got green lights for everything. Our maintenance schedules are all done. We have now completed 120 selling pens in relation to the replacement of the cattle rail. We're coming up the lane now. We've done 2 of the D yards out of 10 of those, and then we'll just continue on with our replacement of the holding pens after that. So I'm not going to take any credit for that. I'll give Brad Halliday a pat on the back. He's done 99% of the work in relation to this, and he's done a tremendous job. So just getting on to the truck wash. We've had a few little hiccups with that one. So we just sort of go back to the drawing board a bit on that one, but let's hopefully we'll make a start on that one very soon. Our expenditure and so forth on that is pretty much on track. As we go down the page, you've got our maintenance side, which is only due to maybe 2 weeks or sale every fortnight, so we're not continuously out there repairing things or fixing other pieces. But with our painting of the canteens, we do have the opportunity to get work for the dole and corrective services community hours people, and we're lucky enough to snubble a corrective services man who's a qualified painter. Wow. So he's just finished painting the inside and outside of the canteen and sale yards, and he's now already got another 2 jobs in line once he comes back again. So he'll be a great asset, and I like this work for the dole and the community services because they don't eat into your budget.
Good on you, Kurt.
So that's always a plus. So I didn't put the figures in for the financial year to date. From 1st July to now, we've only had 1,339 cattle. But as I say, this time of the year it's always quiet, and because of the drought conditions, it's just sort of worsening a lot. Now, the last one is our number 15, Parks, Gardens and Open Spaces. Which is probably down a little bit further. So just getting back to our one-year operation plan on that one. Our Parks, Gardens and Open Space Committee have been kicking many goals, achieving a lot of good outcomes. So if you just look through them, probably one of our main ones is the meeting with the Red Frog to go back through the Tenterfield Creek, Mike Lloyd. We've notified what needs to be done. We've actually progressed to do a lot of the work there already, the manual work, in relation to the removal of trees and so forth out of the creek bed. I'm sourcing pricing now to start to clean out the sand behind the high school. So it'll be the next on the list. As I say, we're working with the communities again. You see the photos we've achieved. We've got the new storage shed for the Torrington mower, and that also will house all the equipment that council has supplied, which takes the onus away from going into someone's private property to try and get a mower. Probably one of our big outcomes, and everyone's comments, is the Rouse Street lighting. Very much done a tremendous job. Probably the only couple of feedbacks I got was, why did we do the rest of the trees? So I'd probably like to see that. I'll put it up again as let's go to stage 2 and try to get the rest of them done. So we'll just tie the whole of our street together. But no, comments on that have all been good, all very positive. And just touching back on what Heidi said in relation to the niche wall and the sanitary gardens, the paving is now done. We have 50 roses there that have been planted. They're not actually in the photo because it was taken a couple of days before. And the rest of the plants will be installed next next week after it is. So the seat hopefully will be here by the end of next week. And then that'll be ready for the completion and the opening of the niche wall. So there are a couple on the bottom of that with our Parks and Gardens and Open Spaces and delivery programs in relation to villages and further advancement on strong, things like that with our urban designs. Now our new horticultural landscape coordinator, he's been coming there with a couple of days. He hasn't had his feet off the ground yet, so he's hopefully he's nearly completed the Millbrook Park tree management side of things, so we'll get that plan going to identify all the different species of trees within the parks, and then we'll start on the delivery program and park schedules of every individual park. So that'll keep Wayne going for a while. And just a couple of other little completions at the end of it. Our Willow Walkers sign has been installed within the park and the boundaries where they needed it. So Jubilee across the bottom of Shirley. And that's pretty much about me. All our budgets are on track. Well, if you go back to the niche wall, they're both in the red, but they just need to be carried over. So that'll happen at the September budget review. And everything else is just as per weekly schedules with our Parks and Gardens staff.
Thanks, Coop. Councillors, there were more questions to Coop. Councillor McNish.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I presume it's in your under your supervision, but there are a lot of complaints about untidy houses and yards around the town. I won't mention any in particular, but I think you all know some of the people we're referring to. Is that part of your role to enforce that?
It is, Councillor, yeah.
Can anything be done about
It's a slow, yeah, we are. It is a slow process, and if the first instance, naturally you don't need to identify it, but if they move something, they have done something, and that's the mentality of them. Is we can go to the stage if you want to get to the heavy side of it, and go right. Let's put a clean-up order, and we'll go and do the work, and we'll charge you to do it, whatever. But a lot of times, I know some of them are very slow processes, and I think I've got a fair idea. You've probably got 2 in mind, but you've got to take the proactive approach and say, yes, well, if we do this little bit now and this little bit later, but I know it is a very slow process, and while they seem to be doing something, there's no laws to say that, if they come in and they go, they got 10 cars and whatever, and they move 1 car, they go, well, I have done something, but I'm going to move another one soon. So it is a long drawn out process, and yeah, look, I'm hearing what's happening.
Yeah.
But, if you could get the ball rolling and go in there and say, yes, righto, we're just gonna do it all, it'd be great. And with most of them anyway, with the clean-up, you've got to give a time frame for them to be successful in doing something. But we have achieved two in possibly the last 3 months. But yeah, look, I'm well aware that probably the ones that we see most frequently have got letters in relation to what they need to do, and it's just a matter of pursuing the fact.
Yeah, one of the ways to get rid of them, I think, was if there's vermin there or potential of snake harbors or something like that. Is that
You
still?
can use that as, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
You can use that as a clean up under section 124 of the Local Government Act in relation to, you specify what they need to do. But then again, if they go in and say, well, now mowed my lawn, or cut the grass down so the vermin might not be here, and whatever they seem to be doing something, it's always that hard task that we just can't go in there, guns are blazing, and they probably know the laws just as they probably do. They know the laws probably better than what we do. But it's always a hard one. But I'd like to see them all pristine too. But just unfortunately, we just got a battle on our hands with a lot of them.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Councillor Vera, you've indicated.
Yeah, Mark, whose job is it for cat's claw in the river riparian zone down near the confluence with, on the Jumeric with the confluence with the Beatty? I know there's a fair bit of cat's claw down there. Is that our jurisdiction or is that somebody else's?
No, it would come under us councillors. It would be the same procedure as what they would have when they attacked it down the Rocky. So they could option to put the bug out, and then if not, they would just have to cut and paste or cut and poison. So it's if it hasn't been identified, as a lot of it, they possibly we need to investigate it further to see how much is actually there, and then maybe there might be some more funding out there for it to try to maintain it and control it.
Councillor Bronwyn Patrick.
Thanks, Mark. The lady who's privet, the privet that joined the college, she's ecstatic, I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
Very, very much. She saw me up the street the other day, but she really asked me about it, and I said, well, I'll pass it on to the guys here. She was so happy the other day about it. There's some more end Cooks Road Casino there, and the Common. Went down Common Road the other day, and yeah, is that the Common Trust has to look after, and the rubbish that's dumped in there, in the town common there?
There used to be an old dump in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, I'm not sure whether it was an illegal, I think it was not an illegal dump, I think it was.
Well, the car on
Yeah,
but
I
then
think
there's
that was,
other bits of stuff.
yeah, an illegal, actually in the paddock on the road.
No, not paddocks. The
I've
stuff
had
that's
to
just
look.
been thrown over the fence.
Well, that could be classified as an illegal dump, so I'll have to go and look at that one. But there was originally a dump site there many years ago. But yeah, unfortunately, if it's, the common comes under the Crown, which now the Crown comes under council. So, yes.
Yeah, but
So,
I'm not sure the pivot was there to hide the dumping.
yeah, there's a lot of it there, but I think the same token, the Common Trust Committee, they put so much money towards every year to maintaining the weeds in there, which they do get in and spray the blackberries. They're quite under control in there now. I have been in there not long ago to look. But as for the privet, yes, it does still come under, come under council. So it could be something we need to notify the Common Trust on to say, now that we've done this, we need to probably start to control the privet as well.
So with blackberries, and you said there's been property inspections, when you see a place that's covered in, for instance, blackberries, and you give an order to clear, what happens then? The other thing also we're going to watch about is with the amount of non-local fodder coming up. I was just wondering whether we should have some little thing to go out to let us say these are the weeds from the areas that you're getting hay from that you need to be looking out for. So that
That's probably a very good point that we can put into the flyer, the flyer as to what weeds and be aware. Even to the extent where a lot of the producers are feeding within the same area, so that they're not feeding all over the paddock where the weeds will spread a lot quicker if they are there. But that's probably something we look at to put into the flyer to say, if you're getting weeds, hay fodder from the coast, be aware of, and then maybe list the 10 most noxious weeds that would, maybe possibly be in that area.
because as Councillor Peter said, it could be a potential disaster waiting to happen.
Oh,
if we
sure.
get on top of it really early. And my final thing was with those rabbits. Do you use, have you ever used Pindone or aren't you allowed to in
You can't poison, we have used pindone at the cemetery, but pindone is just like giving them a Vegemite sandwich, it doesn't kill them. So,
You need ferrets.
well, the cemetery's fine because they normally burrow under the graves or where we can gas them. So, if you're hard, when I first started the job, there was a funeral, went up the next morning to check, and they had Doug Barrow, and who was buried just the day before. So the cemetery is not too bad now, it's 99% rabbit proof, but the cunning ones just come through the little opening in the gate where the pedestrians come. So yeah, it's an ongoing issue, and will always be an ongoing issue. But where possible, and like I say, if someone rings up, I'm happy to go around and say, well, here's 2 Foxostron tablets, that's what you gas them with, put them out in the hole and let me know if they come back. And I think by doing that little bit, saving Mrs. Brown's garden and saving all the plants, and she's happy. Yeah. But just one thing I did touch on, Councillor Pete, that the canteen at Sayers, did you mention that one? A minute ago about the funding?
About the building.
It was the building that the agents used.
Yeah, so it's due to be replaced this year. So there is $68,000 in the budget to replace the office toilet block. So I'll be looking at just bringing in a portable diner, something like that that's pretty much knock the old one down, the new one sits in, just plumbing in, electricity, away they go, so it's not really going to be an inconvenience. So we just got to get something that's going to be suitable within our budget. So, but that's this year's capital works, 1819. Yeah.
Is there any other questions to Mark? Could be no more questions. I do thank you for your presentation, and if I'm allowed, I have one question. And sorry to throw you from left field. It's purely once again for clarity. In the recent outbreak and loss of cattle down the western side, and I'm sure you'd be aware, and I'm only talking the last couple of weeks, of a weed down there that killed a number of cattle for one of our residents. Does council, who becomes involved in that? Is it Local Land Services, or was council involved in that?
It's been a combination of both, because I think they did contact the local land services vet to identify what had actually killed them.
That's correct.
And then it'll be a combination of everybody, DPI, the whole lot to get in, because to be quite honest with you, I'd never heard this word before.
Yeah, neither
I thought the only one that had killed cattle would be Green Cessna.
Yeah. Keep my chair.
Oh.
I can't think. No, I can't think.
Sorry?
I'd never heard of it before.
I'd never heard of it, but yeah, anyway, this guy
Killed
lost.
them in no time.
Not the dark one,
Not that.
something dark.
So I think so. I've seen photos of it, but I can't remember what it was, councillor.
I think it had Green Factory.
No, the reason I ask is if it's killed one lot of cattle, it might potentially kill others.
Well,
Yeah.
That needs to be
No,
disseminated out into the.
why I mentioned it, I'm sure everyone's on it. I just,
We're all over that one.
yeah, it was very, very tough on the producers, and it killed them in no time at all.
Just an isolated
Yes.
patient.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but anyway, but it's good. Coach, so, I'm sorry to bore you with that, thank you for your explanation. Councillors, on behalf of the council, I do thank you, Coop. We know you've got a big paddock with 7,300 square kilometres to cover, with you and the other ranger and the job you're doing, and with Chris. And you have the full support of this council, and I know that you live, eat and breathe. I'll see you out there at work early in the morning, late in the evening, and I'll always acknowledge that. So thank you for the time you put in. Councillors, please thank Mark for his Okay, councillors, we'll move on with our agenda. There's no Merrill minute, councillors. Councillors, we do have, when we get to it, our couple of items in our confidential part of our meeting. Can I have a motion to deal with those in the confidential section, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Mike Petrie, I thank you. All in favour? Cancel. Carry. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, move on to page 28 in our hard copy of our agenda. Item COM 14/18. Submission of petition request review of section 64 and 7.11, 94 development contributions. Could I move in a second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Sawyer, I thank you. Second by Councillor Roden. And I thank you, and I'll hand over to Kylie Smith, our Chief Corporate Officer. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. You'll see there from the summary that council's actually received a petition submitted by Mr Calvin Brogan of the Central Building Services with 4 signatories requesting that council review the current development servicing plans and contributions levied on developers. These works have been flagged in the operational plan to be undertaken this year, and we're just in the process of actually seeking some quotations to have those works undertaken. Nonetheless, there's a recommendation there for council's consideration that they receive the petition requesting a review to be undertaken of the New South Wales Local Government Act in Section 64 and the New South Wales Environmental and Planning Assessment Act, which were the Section 94 contributions, which have now changed to Section 711 and 712 respectively. And number 2, the Council's 8 and 9 statutory review of the New South Wales Local Government Act Section 64 and EPA assessment 711, 712 will be addressed, will actually include the petitioner's contributions in that review.
Questions to Kylie to do with the report, Councillors? Councillor Bob Rogan.
Thanks, through you, Mr Mayor. Kylie, just, obviously it's up for review anyway, so this is just a process. But I guess that the revenue that would have been derived by council from those developer contributions will be looked at to see whether by decreasing them, council's going to be out of pocket. In other words, is there a lot of development money coming in now? Thanks.
That's an argument question, Councillor, in terms of the amount of money that is coming in at the moment. So that is evidenced through our annual financial statements, of which we've had a pretty close look at of late. The concerns which you mentioned as to whether or not they are to the level that is required, or whether or not that level is impeding development, will certainly be subject to the review, as well as each and every one of those petitioners being contacted as part of our community consultation to assess what the impact has been both on the industry and also the council's works and their ability to undertake that.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Kylie. Councillor Berry.
Through you, Mr Mayor. With this, Kylie, we had a couple of subdivisions at Liston which were raised quite a bit of a layer. One or two people up there having to pay these contributions when they sold, I think, the vicinity of $5,000 per block they were selling. And I noticed that you're going to contact or have a consultation at Erdenville and Jennings. I just wonder if it's worthwhile, where you're having a bit of subdivision, have the people go out to that area as well for a consultation.
More than happy to take on board any of that feedback from council. Our objective is to consult as widely as we need to. So if that is what we'd like to have considered in that quotation, I'm more than happy to include that, council.
Thank you, Kylie. Councillor Bronwyn Patrick.
Thanks, Molly. I was just wondering, the letter or petition refers to how much the contributions have risen, and only being on council the last 2 years and not having the history of some of the people here, how much have they actually incrementally increased to now be a real deterrent to people?
I probably have to take that one on notice, council. Honestly, I haven't done the deep dive for each of those particular fees, so as you can appreciate, under each plan, there are several different fees associated with development at the time. So I'm happy to provide that back to council.
Because the other thing too is, can, in the review of the fees and charges, can you look at, well, what the development, contributions are, as opposed to what you're losing if the development doesn't go ahead? Because it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? So what you lose here, you're not picking up there. So I mean, if the contributions were lowered, but you then in return pick up all the other development application fees, etc., and local activity to balance that out, will the review look at compensating one for the other? Like, not just, oh, this is what it costs, without saying what you're losing in lost opportunity.
Certainly at this point in time, that has been included in the quotation, but what I'm picking up is obviously a high level of interest. So when we finalise the scope of works, if council actually wishes to review that as a workshop to make sure that we have covered all those concerns.
Thank you for your questions, Councillor, and reply, Kylie. Councillor Michael Patrick.
I just think it really wants a good review. I think a lot of blocks around town here that need, people want to do it, they're just frightened off of the cost. I think if you bring your development costs back, you'll pick it up in your rates and everything else. When you get there, you ain't got your water supply, your sewage supply and everything else, you get the big leaks out of that. I think we'll just want a good look at it anyhow, so you can get progress going, I think. Not the whole town just thinking, oh, cost too much to split that, there you go. That's all I have to say on it, yeah.
Thank you, councillor. Any other questions to colleagues to do with the report? There isn't. Councillors, just to go back, if you look at the report, and I'll just, for once again, just clearing it is addressed to me in a conversation with the author of this letter. Once it was signed, it was going to become a petition, so I'm just clearing that with the council, but that's the way council looks at it. That's not a bad thing. I commend the author for bringing this forward because it's healthy for council to talk to our public. And as we go through this process of reviewing this, and it couldn't be better, more timely, that it fits into that 5-year period where it needs to be reviewed, and we'll work through it. And I think it's healthy for us to learn more about Section 64s and Section 94s and what it means to this council, for one as an income, and for the other as potential development in our shire. And right across our shire, not only in Tenterfield itself. So I look forward to having that workshop, and we'll come out with a better decision at the end of it. So councillors, we're saying that the officer's recommendation is there. All in favour of the recommendation? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, page 31 in your hard copy. It's item COM 15/18. It's located in place front to 1819. Can I have a move in a second to do with this item, please? Councillor Broderick Beaker, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Brian Murray, and thank you. And once again, I'll hand out the Chief Corporate Officer, Colin.
If we just wait, Mr. Barry Frew is actually going to speak to
I
us.
apologise, Colin.
Mr. Mayor?
Barry, come forward.
This particular proposal was put together between the property side of the organisation as well as ourselves. For councillors' information, we now have what's called 3 LEMOs, not lemmings, but LEMOs, local emergency management officers, representing the council and a local emergency management committee. The 3 LEMOs are the Chief Executive, our Workplace Health and Safety and Risk Management Officer, Wes Hoffman, and myself representing Workplace Development.
I apologise, Barry. Sorry. But don't you move anywhere because you're talking about the next report, and I apologise.
Okay.
So switch your microphone and you just cool your heels for a minute. We've already moved and seconded that we deal with item COM 15/18, local heritage placement. So you're a good cop?
Yes, no.
But I'll hand over to you now to present this one. I'm sorry, Barry.
My apologies, I have quite a few in this particular meeting with our senior planner being away, so I apologise again for misleading Barry. So we have a recommendation there that council endorses the officer funding as detailed in the tables attached to the report and board letters of offer to the eligible applicants, and also to redistribute any funding not accepted or claimed by the claim date evenly amongst those capital projects. So recently, the applications have been assessed under the local heritage scheme for 2018 for maintenance and conservation work of heritage items within the heritage conservation areas and within the support of council's heritage advisors. So the committee has reviewed those. This is their recommendation. We've put that forward for council's endorsement today.
Thank you, colleague. Any questions, colleague, to do with the report, councillors? No? The report's there. All happy to endorse the report, councillors? Against? Carried. Thank you. Council, to move on to page 34 in your hard copy, item COM 16/18, proposal for emergency management centre grant. Can I have a move in a second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Second, councillors, hello. Councillor Berry, thank you. And I apologise, Barry, will hand over to you to present this report. Start again.
Well, I mentioned the fact that there are a number of local emergency management officers in council. It's working on what they call a 24-shift basis, in that there are 3 of us that if there is a local emergency, we can cover representation in a local emergency management committee. The local emergency management committee here for this Shire is working quite actively. We've had several meetings in the last few months. It's comprised of most of the, what they call combat forces, who are represented if there was an emergency. That includes the fire service, the rural fire service, the police, ambulance services, the SES, to name just a few. It also includes the hospital and a number of other community organisations. So it's quite an active and important group. That's also linked with the issue that is closer to home, and that's amenity for councillors and for staff, which are the physical attributes of this building. There is a history of the creation of local emergency management centres in council and shire areas. And these are centres that can be used in the event of an emergency, where those representatives of the combat forces can meet together to monitor and to coordinate services that are carried out during the emergency. There is funding that is provided for these centres, and whilst we were looking at the question of refurbishment of the council chambers and of updating of some of the staff facilities, which go to issues such as the toilets and those sorts of conveniences, while we were looking at it, we looked at the issue of available funding. And there are, as is mentioned in your paper, which is quite self-explanatory, there are sources for funding. And we needed to make the council aware of the fact that we would be seeking a $200,000 grant from one of the sources that's actually the root cause of that source is the Gaming Commission, and they are committed to providing money to help communities on important issues and emergency management centres are one of those. Whilst we've been in the process of this, I've also discovered, because of our cooperation with the police side of the emergency management process, that there could be further money available. This is a very recent development, further money available for this particular project from the Ministry of Justice, which handles police and emergency management in New South Wales. So therefore, talking to this particular issue, it's a matter where we're seeking endorsement from the council to proceed with this funding application. Obviously, we don't have it yet, but it is a funding application that requires a dollar for dollar matching in that process. And there is currently, as is in the paper, a certain amount of funding put against aside for refurbishment. But of course that's not adequate to match the 200,000 grant that we would be seeking, hence this paper for noting. Now, in the process of this grant application, we are developing possible alternative designs that would incorporate this particular area and the committee rooms across the entry from the council building and refurbish those, which would provide a number of communication facilities within them. It also goes to other issues such as communication towers and improving the mobile services within the total area. So it is quite a comprehensive project, and to that I am in support of the particular paper here indicating that it involves a process of development and seeking additional funding to certainly upgrade this area. And we've had a look at particularly a very flash emergency management centre in Glen Innes Shire, which is the property of the Rural Fire Service. We wouldn't be going to that extent. It's almost a multi-billion-dollar setup, but on a scale appropriate to this Shire, and that's why we're getting support from a number of the emergency management groups. We don't have such a facility here, and it would be a very suitable facility, which would include a training room for the Shire and for the community. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say, rather than restate those things that are in the paper that's before you.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Barry. Councillors, any questions to Barry to do with this report? Councillor Berry?
More of a comment than a question, Barry.
Yep.
During the, I think it was 2021 or 2 fires up in the north there, council was the only communication they had was where to use a landline, because there's no communications from here north. You can't use a mobile phone. There was no satellite phones available at the time, and my suggestion would be that somehow we get a few satellite phones to the list of fire brigade for emergencies. But I remember Steve Onions he was on this end of the thing communicating with me, and I was trying to direct him on the top-up map where you could go and couldn't go. It was pretty difficult, but I just think we need better communications for that area, and I'm pretty sure on the east here we need better communications too. And I know our RFS itself has gone to a lot of trouble to get better communications. We can actually talk to Queensland now, which we couldn't do at that time. One industry incident up there, the Queensland police were running around trying to evacuate New South Wales because they were lost. But that's just how the communications were at that particular point.
One of the most impressive one of the most impressive sites down at the Glen Innes Centre is not so much the facilities indoor, but is a communications tower and a generator. And in my discussions with the local emergency police representative, he was quite enthusiastic about a communications tower that improved mobile phone coverage and communications within the area. And within my discussions with the property and building area here, I said that two of the most critical issues in that funding would be to upgrade the generator power that is here at the council. A current generator will keep the building going during an emergency, but not the air conditioning, so it is somewhat inadequate in that sense. But to upgrade the generator and to provide a communications tower, that would be involved within this particular submission, the communications tower which upgraded and met the requirements there. It's a very impressive communications tower down in Glen Innes, which has improved their ability to communicate. I did have a look at the way in which that's translated into other forms of communication as well, television screens, and where they can pick up what's going on at particular sites. So it's an impressive centre, but there are, on a smaller scale, lessons that we can learn from it, which would improve the overall facilities that council has.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Bronwyn, then I'll go to you, Councillor Peters.
Don't want me to worry about aircon if we're out there fighting fires. Anyway, what I was just wondering is, we've got the budget of $80,000,
Yep.
and this is budgeted potentially having to match dollar for dollar an additional $120,000. I was wondering where is that additional $120,000 coming from, considering that we're always told the pie is only so big, and if we take from here, if we spend money here, it's got to come from somewhere else, and I can't seem to get $8,000 for that footpath, the drain, toilet. So I'm just wondering where we're getting the 120 from.
Probably I'll refer that question to the Chief Corporate Officer, who looks after the dollars and cents.
Fair question. Can everybody explain, Councillor?
No, but Councillor Petrie is quite correct. We would actually have to make that out of our general revenue allocation, and as we talk about, we're continually balancing those items as they come forth, both for things that are of an emergent nature or whether or not that's for the bridges, etc., etc. So that is the question at this point in time, is whether council feels comfortable to allocate that and that we actually progress, bearing in mind that we do know that we have got some asset maintenance work to do on the building, with the idea of as much as possible with grants and perhaps look at the opportunity to enhance what we already have to be more in line with the community.
Yes, Councillor, yes.
I mean, well, if that's the case, and given that we have this crisis with bridges, it might be all right to have a fancy communication centre here with a fancy tower and everything else, but if you can't get a truck over a bridge, it might be a bit of a problem. I'd prefer to defer it until we hear back a response back on our bridge funding myself, given, I mean, to me, 120,000 fixes a bridge.
You do realise, council, with respect that this is a totally different pot of money. This is totally different to any bridge funding or any of the.
No, no, not the grant. The money that we would have to put in, the 120,000 we've got to kick in,
Right.
is not different money. That 120,000 has, as Kylie's just said to us, has to come out of our general revenue. So if that's general revenue money, that could go towards, for instance, a bridge or something else. So that's, to me, it's setting priorities. And that's what I said, I'd like to personally, given that crisis situation in the show at the moment, in particular with another 38 bridges to be checked as well, to me, $120,000 fixes a bridge out of the 58. And in that case, I would rather wait to see how successful we are with our grant application from that other bucket of money, from the Fairsville estate, towards the bridges before I would happily make a decision on this one, that's all.
I mean, it's a great idea. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the next report also talks about things like financial assistance, so that is definitely within council's purview to actually work out how they'd like to allocate those particular funds.
Barry, did you want to comment?
One comment that I would make from experience in grant submissions is that there are certain items that you can include within your application that are your contributions. One illustration of that is that in some grant applications you can pick up existing costs that you're incurring. For instance, you can use the salaries of people who are working on a particular project. For instance, if the Limos are working on the project, you allocate some of their salary costs as part of your contribution. Again, if the property department is working on those particular submissions, you can include in those claims the salary costs for those people. So I won't call it creative accounting because I'm not trying to pull people's legs, but it is a little bit more creative in terms of the way in which you meet the costs. We've done that with previous funding submissions, and my hope in investigating the funding that might be available from the Justice Department is that too would offset some of these costs. So the actual dollar value that we come up at the end of the day, that 120,000 would include salary costs, which are existing costs. It's a cost transfer, if you like, as to what people's time spent on a particular project.
But what's that in monetary terms?
In monetary terms, it would be a percentage of the current costs that we incur for people like Heidi, for Terry, for myself, for West Hoffman, the Workplace Health and Safety and Risk Management Officer. So some of their salaries, some of their time, and it would have to be quite transparent. I'm not suggesting it wouldn't be. At this moment, it wouldn't make up 120,000, but it would make up a portion of that.
So, is that 1% of that, or is it 50% of that roughly plucked out of the air?
I would imagine it wouldn't be difficult to find 50%.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Peters, you've indicated a question to the report.
Yeah, right, the question, observations,
Microphone, please, councillor.
Going back to communication, you can get a little clip-on device that fits on the back of an iPhone that turns it into a satellite phone. So I don't go all that expensive.
Councillor Berry, you've indicated, no other questions before I go to Councillor Berry? Treasurers? No? Councillor Berry, you've indicated?
Yeah, I go along with what Bron was saying. With the refurbishment, wouldn't some of that refurbishment money that we're going to do anyway be used for the grant application?
So we would use the current budget allocation. You may remember that over time we've actually looked at some other building maintenance work that does need to happen to the building, and we're actually trying to scope what that is at this point in time. So, as I said, we've actually allocated the $80,000. In this particular year, you might remember that we've actually made amendments to this year's budget from previous higher amounts that were included until such time as we could actually do the scope. When it comes to this report, the opportunity was there, I guess, to try and drive our dollar as far as possible in partnership in terms of things that we know need to be upgraded, such as the toilet amenities, etc., under our general maintenance and custodianship of our existing assets.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to with refurbishing, so those costs and the costs of your demos, you get pretty close to, you wouldn't need the whole 120,000.
I think it's prudent until such time as we've completed the application and have all of the works, to advise council that that would be the dollar shortfall that we know at this point in time. Until such time as we've done the deep dive and listed everything and put in how much money we've got, I'm also hesitant to do too much work on it until council provides some in-principle support that they're happy for that level of resource.
Okay. Any more questions to Barry or Colin to do with the report? Councillor Petrie, I'll go back to you've indicated, because it's officer's recommendations, we endorse the infrastructure and bed funding application with fairness. So you've indicated something about not doing that. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, if you want to go forward with that, or hopefully your questions have been answered, whichever.
Well, the question's been answered that with some creative accounting, we could potentially get 60,000 of the 120, so we still have a 60,000 shortfall.
Yeah.
If the grant goes in, it takes some time for them to determine it, and in the meantime, we should hear about bridge funding. But if that, if just so that bridge funding doesn't come through, can we then revisit this, and even if we did get grants, so where can we borrow those 60,000? Like, can we get another chop at it? Rather than if we approve it today and we've got no more bridges, and we've got, we only got 60,000 on the house, then we're going to have some very happy payments.
Well, just after asking council to endorse today, is that this grant application goes in. Correct me if I'm wrong? That's basically it.
That is correct, Mr Mayor, where we find ourselves in a pickle, which has happened previously with things like the truck wash, is by actually submitting that grant application, we're essentially saying that should we be successful, we will be undertaking the works. Now, of course, at any time, council can choose not to do that, but there is that challenge then about what the impacts are of the grant applications that we might receive. Also, this is a highly contested grant, so in terms of our success rate, given the amount of money, there's not a lot of other grants around for that amount of money that come out of the gaming fund, that, you know, our chances of success are certainly there, but as I said, I think we may have a problem projecting that, so it might be, as I said, if council considers that they'd rather not pursue that at this point in time, that we make that decision now rather than actually go and apply for the funding, put that time and effort of council staff into that, and then choose to I guess, get rid of us in cost liability or accept those.
Thank you, Colin. Councillor Rogan, you indicated question to do with the report, Councillor?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. For Barry, if I may. With this, because of Councillor Bronwyn Petrie's questions there, it's just brought up something for me. With offsetting costs in the application as part of our dollar for dollar bill, is there any scope to for money in kind, like can council staff be involved with erecting a tower and that sort of thing, and that would drop the cost even further? So maybe it's for Kyle, your question, I'm not sure.
I would think that's the case. A case in question would be the issue of installing a generator and some of the costs of that possible offset. There would be opportunity to use some of the work staff in there as an offset, because it is a labour issue that's required to put something in place.
And I assume that would be spelled out in the grant application.
I would think so, Councillor, yes. Yep. Okay, Councillors, officers' recommendation is there for endorsement. All in favour? Yes? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Barry, for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Councillors, 36 in your hard copy. Item EC 020/18, final assistant grant, calculations 218/19. Can I move the second to deal with this item, please? Move the second, please. Councillor Michael Petrie, thank you. Seconded by Councillor John McNish, and I thank you. Once again, I'll hand over to Chief Corporate Officer Colin. And welcome, Paul.
I'm happy to deliver this one. It seems how Paul's arrived in the nick of time. His timing was great. I'll let him provide council with good news on the financial assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the financial assistance grants report shows that we actually will be receiving close up to 252,000 more than what we had budgeted for originally this year. That's comprised of 223,000 for the general component and close up to 29,000 for the road component of the grant. I think that's probably been alluded to. It would be possible to use these funds towards the bridge issue, if council so decided. Even though you can see the road component is only a small component of that, the nature of this income is that it can be used for general purposes of council, so it could be used towards the bridge issue, if that is determined.
Thank you, Paul. Councillors, questions to Paul to do with the report or Kylie? No? Okay, the report said, councillors, all in favour of adopting the report? Against? Carried, thank you. Councillors, move on to page 40, item EC 029/18, Tannerfield Aerodrome Tannerfield Aerodrome regrading. Can I have a move in a second to deal with this one, please? Councillor Bromwell, thank you. And seconded by Councillor Tom Peters. I'll hand over to the Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Andre. Welcome, Andre.
Thank you, Bernard. Mr. Mayor and Councillors, going back some time ago, there was a notice of motion brought to Council pertaining to the upgrading of the aerodrome, Tannerfield Aerodrome. It was more along the lines of taking out the humps or high points, as I'll call them, along the airstrip. This particular issue has been looked at in the past. I think this is something Council needs to be mindful of. It was looked at well over 20 years ago. Back then, there were some estimates put together and some indicative works. Those estimates are certainly well short of what would be the needed cost today or the needed revenue today to deal with the issue. But certainly Council has done some due diligence certainly since that notice of motion. We've gone out and done a survey, we've done test hole checking for either of those high points. We've GPS surveyed the strips so we know what the profile looks like. And we've effectively costed two options which were in keeping with what was asked about in the notice of motion. One was just to effectively take out the high points and regrade the strip, and the other one was to provide a sealed surface on which to, I suppose, upgrade the airstrip with. Now, something Council just needs to keep in mind that it's not, if you want to go down the path of putting a seal down, it's not just a case of putting a seal down. You've got to be mindful of the pavement rating that's required under CASA requirements under the MOS standards 139, and you've got to be mindful too of all the other bits and pieces that goes with providing that level of service. Once you increase that level of service, expect the community perhaps want to take advantage of that, maybe increase the commercial use. That's all good and well, but it just lifts the costs to another level. Broadly speaking, it's a bit over $1 million to do the upgrading. That is to take out the high points and regrade what we've got there. If you're going to go down the path of putting a pavement down on top of that and a sealed surface, that pushes it out to a bit over $3 million, I think $3,090,000. For Council's information, we have nothing like that in our long-term financial plan. We couldn't afford it 20 years ago, we can't afford it now. What I would say though is that even if you got higher help in, whatever, or I should say community help in moving the material around, at the end of the day the work's got to be done to a standard, and that's the key thing. So, this is not just going to be a case of let's get out there on the weekend and let's see what we can do sort of thing. So, just be mindful in going forward. I would certainly recommend to Council that we not discard the work that's been done. If there's a vision to certainly bring more bring more use into the Shire, commercial use of the airport, fine, we can certainly look at grant opportunities into the future and take advantage of the work that's been done. But right now, I don't believe we should be committing any of our funds, council funds, to directly applying and getting on and doing this particular project. Questions, thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Questions, Andre, to deal with the report of councillors? Councillor Michael Petrie?
Andre, I reckon that was well put. I think as a councillor though, we haven't got any great ambitions to use that airport out there. Like used to fly out there a lot of times in the 1970s. We never had any trouble with it. I think it's, we should get the money and fix the bridges before we think about building the airport up. If you had some specific use for it, you're going to get a lot of planes in and out. I'd say, yeah, you go do something about it. The way it is now, anybody who can't land a plane out there, want their licence taken off them. That's what I reckon.
Councillor Sawyer?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I agree with Councillor Petrie. Our priority is bridges. At the cheapest opportunity, $1 million, get one good bridge. The top one, $3 million, get 3 bridges. My contacts at the RFDS, I worked there for 15 years, tell me that they can land out there in daylight hours in optimum conditions. If required, they will be tasked second to the chopper out of Lismore. So we are not going to get an increased use for emergency purposes. I asked a question previously and no one could answer it. Are we collecting any landing fees off the airport at the moment? So it's not going to generate any more revenue than it's currently generating, so it's a dead duck as far as I'm concerned.
Councillor Peters?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I suppose an observation, I suppose it's more an observation than a question. Once you start showing that airstrip, we like the industrial estate, I mean, monster boulders underneath it. And it cost millions to shift them, so I think we'll leave it right alone.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? Councillor Bromwich, Petrie?
Just a comment. Thanks, Andre, for looking into that. That was really good. I'm quite comfortable with council, absolutely not spending our money, but seeing what other money might be out there from interested parties. As per the officer's recommendation, I have no objection at all to the officer's recommendation, which is quite clearly no contribution, but that we seek other funds elsewhere to be able to utilise.
Thank you, councillors, for your sorry, Councillor. Councillor Bob
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I was just wanting to make a comment, but Bronwyn has pretty much done that for me. The recommendation is subject to no capital contribution by the council, so just on that alone, I'll support it as it is.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Councillors, before I close, I listen, Andre, to be supportive of the comments made from other councillors. Thank you very much. I know we've got a lot on our plate, and to you and your staff for doing such a good report on this detail. And we are very lucky to have experience because of your previous experience in there doing the airport. So I do want to note that. And the other, you mentioned a couple of the current staff that you've got to help you there with. It isn't on our topic list of doing things. If I go back, councillors, why I brought that forward as a mayoral minute was to appease because we were asked to look at it. Some people in the area thought it was one of these big projects we should be looking at. We've come back and we've got a report. Now we know what it's worth to do. And I think we're at a good place. And once again, that's where it's at. So it is. So okay, councillors, reports there to receive and note. All happy? Favour? Yes? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, move on to page 45 in your hard copies, item PNV 18/18. Drinking water quality policy number 2.162 draft. Move in a second here, please, to deal with this item. Councillor Roden, I thank you. Second, please. Councillor Petrie, and I thank you. And once again, I hand over to our Chief Operating Officer. Andre, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, you will be aware that we, as a council, have a drinking water quality management system. Basically, and that system, by the way, does seek to adhere to the principles and guidelines that are set out in the Australian Drinking Water Management Guidelines. At the end of the day, I'd say all water utilities seek that same objective to provide a quality of water that's consistent with these drinking water management guidelines. The council's in the process of revising or updating, I should say, its quality management system. And part of the process is just checking that there are any gaps in what we have done and had in our possession. One of those gaps at this point in time is policy. So, look, this might seem trite, but at the end of the day, the drinking water guidelines suggest that we have a policy, so we've put together something that's up to date and it's reflective of our desire to effectively provide safe, quality drinking water to our communities. So I would commend the policy to you, Council. It's more an administrative thing, but the policy does come to you at the end, so I would commend it to you.
Questions, Andre, councillors, to deal with the report? No? The report said, councillors, all in favour of the officer's recommendation? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, page 51 in your hard copy, it's ENV 19/18, Amendment to Territorial Development Control Plan 214, signage outdoor advertising. Can I move and second here, please, to deal with this? Councillor Bronwyn, thank you. Second by Councillor Brian Murray, and I thank you. And once again, I hand over to our Chief Operating Officer, Andre. Sorry,
It's
Kyle.
okay,
Kyle.
I said I don't be on
Corporate.
this
Corporate.
with Jermaine anyway, no, that's fine, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is actually to seek Council's resolution to adopt the changes that have been advertised to the Territorial Development Control Plan 2014. At the close of the public advertising, we have received no submissions to that. We've obviously conducted a workshop and had quite extensive discussions. So there's an officer's recommendation that the board by Jermaine that Council approves the amendments, the amendments to the advertising and signage chapter of the Territorial Development Control Plan 2014, as it was publicly exhibited and identified in the attachment, and gives public notice of its decision in the local newspaper within 28 days after that decision is made.
Questions of colleague, councillors to deal with the report? Councillor Bronwyn Petrie.
Thanks, Mark. Just a couple, on page, the bit about signs on business or industrial premises, it says, signs must not be internally illuminated unless it's located on a motel outside the heritage conservation area. Now, the Peter Allen, as I understand it, is still within the heritage conservation area. So that means they're not going to have their Peter Allen sign.
Remember too, though, we have discussed this, and so this doesn't apply retrospectively. This is to approvals moving forward.
Right, okay. And coming back a couple of pages, that's good, because I didn't want one business disadvantaged over others. Overhead banners, now still saying signs that are not acceptable, so they're not under prohibited.
Councillor, just to help us in know, I apologise, it's not numbered.
So that is,
So 3 pages in.
and that was the item that was put on public exhibition following the workshop.
Yeah, how kick all this off with the different banners around the town? Are they deemed to be overhead banners or?
Before, I apologise, Councillor Petrie, in colleague. Councillors, please be aware, this is the amended one we're dealing with. This is the new one. Because it's item number 8, amendment, attachment number 8, I'm sorry. So just be aware of that, you're dealing with the right one. I apologise both to Councillor and colleague.
So based on the red writing of what would be approximately page 3 of the document, is that any sign located at a footpath which is lower than 2.6 metres, excluding all metal flag signs attached to the building card, below the awning, provided they have flexible material. So when we talk about those sales banners, of which there is the picture, my understanding is that they are actually permissible on this one.
So, if those are, I'm talking about business banners on poles, the banners that's above, so they would be deemed to be overhead banners, wouldn't they?
Unless it was a sign, and this is quite what's covered by the second part, is unless they were considered to be a hazard to traffic or pedestrians.
Yeah. I think that's clear. That's a good point.
Come up a couple of dot points from the red writing. It says, the following types of signs are not considered acceptable: overhead banners, hunting multiple flags and labelled objects, except for temporary signs, opening new business banners displayed by council for community purposes.
but banners displaying a business. So we've got different banners that need to be used, such as the art gallery and whichever.
Yeah.
But a wall-mounted one such as Curry's, to me, that would be, that would still be not permissible unless you're going to knock it back at its retrospective.
Yeah, but I mean, does it come, if I can hop in there, does it come with prior consent?
No.
That's what prior.
So this one, we changed it all up. Yeah, because we put a moratorium on it all.
Right.
So this has been the new way forward. There's been lots of really good changes here, which
Yep.
is great.
Yep.
It's just that one of, and Bunyan has stayed in it, which is good, because it actually went out, it's not being used, it should have been. We didn't want all this.
Yep. Yep.
It's the exception. My concern is with that overhead back, so, for businesses such as Curry's that have actually got it sitting up on the wall, above there, that one.
I think I'd have to take that one on notice and check with Timay, because I'm unfortunately not aware of the manners that you're talking about, so it's really hard, as I said, for me to picture those in my mind to
They're blue, maybe blue is too.
Indicate the business that they're on with. Okay, councillors, any more questions, colleagues, to do with the report? Councillor McDitch, yes?
I think, Mr. Mayor, just on the vehicle signs, you notice that a lot more businesses now are putting their name, businesses like Ray White and all those sort of ones. I think they're more remote ones. The character down the street who's protesting about coal or something like that, who parks his car in a prominent place every day. Now, that, to me, that is advertising. Michael Lyons would disagree with me there. That's another thing. Are these things policed? Can they be policed? And who does police them, Colin? Is it Mark Cooper's job or?
I think that that's a very different conversation to the one that we have at the moment. So there's a variety of those things. So in terms of, in some instances, the RMS in terms of number plates that are considered offensive, so that wouldn't necessarily council to consider that even if they're parked somewhere with an offensive number plate. So you'll see all sorts of media around that. In terms of skins on vehicles and those types of things, there's a variety of different people involved. At this point in time, to the best of my knowledge, council does not make any determination about an offensive vehicle as such unless there is a complaint at that point in time about that particular vehicle in that location.
This is a very advertising material, and to me that is advertising material.
I will take that one on notice, councillor, and check.
Thank you. Fair point, councillor. Any more questions, colleagues, to do with the report, councillors?
Yes, Mr.
Councillor Brian Murray, yes?
Sir. So effectively then our GM would be in trouble with the new vehicles signposted for those of you who have seen it.
I think there's a complaint, councillor.
Is that a complaint?
Well, no,
I'm not using it.
There was a comment. I raised it.
At least we'll keep an eye on him. Know where he is.
Everybody knows my name, councillor.
All good. You can't knock him over that. Councillor, indicating no question to do with the report, councillor?
Always.
Thank you.
Just
I'll
the
allow
car
that.
signs, I presume the car signs we're talking about are the ones where you see a car or trailer with a sign put in the back or land up against it rather than a skin. And they were removed previously from certain businesses. So I think that's the one we do have control under.
Yes, we do. Just in response, I think the council wish was referring to a particular vehicle that we do actually see.
Oh, yeah, I know that one. I know, but I'm just saying,
But it doesn't have to
just add into the info, and because there's any number of businesses like some accountants, etc., and real estate. So I think the ones that we have control of are where there's an actual sign attached, sitting in the back of a vehicle or leaning up against it. The other thing I just do want to query, the flashing signs, all the little tiny open signs.
Yeah.
Once we endorse this, are they classed as non-retrospective or are they going to be banned? The little, it says flashing signs, illuminated or frequently caused by the internal source of light. The little
Yeah, and I remember having that discussion, which I thought that because they're in existence, that we wouldn't be encouraging more of those signs, but more with the adoption of this impact those that were existing.
Yeah.
So what does that do to the neon light around Stanham House?
Around the what, I'm sorry?
Stanham House, around Stanham House,
Oh, okay.
the heritage of it. It's not flashing, but it's neon attached to a heritage building.
once again, councillor, I'd have to take that one because I couldn't say that.
Okay, Councillor Peters, a question to do with the report.
Yes. I was wondering about that,
Microphone, Councillor, please. Sorry, John.
that big sign at mile 10, as far as I can see reading this, it's unbelievable. Am I right in saying that, that walking road sign?
The objective of this particular report here and the adoption of the plan is to set a standard moving forward, which has been an ongoing struggle, which we've been seeing right the way through the report, the workshops, etc. that we've had. So it has been an ongoing area of concern or discussion. By the same time, the council feels that they need more information. More than happy to, as I said, go back and make sure that we actually get this one right. I don't want us to adopt anything as a council that, you know, people aren't comfortable with. So we might actually reschedule it for a workshop if council chooses that way, as opposed to adopt that recommendation. As my understanding was they lined out a lot of those issues throughout the course of, however, it would seem that maybe we need to make sure and satisfy ourselves further before adopting.
Thank you.
Okay, councillors, we'll close questions here. I think we'll give it a pretty fair hearing. The officer's recommendations here, councillors, all in favour of the recommendation? Against? I'll go again, Councillor Murray. I'm sorry. That's all good. Where the officer's recommendations here to do with this item, all in favour of the officer's recommendation? Against? Carried. Please note the councillor. Yeah, thanks, mate. Okay. Councillors, page 54 in your hard copy, item EMP 20/18, proposed Mingula Rural Fire Service Station. Can I have a move and second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Bromwich Petrie, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Sawyer, I thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to Hyde to present his report. Thank you, Hyde.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide council with the current land position for the proposed Mingula Rural Fire Service Station. The recommendation is that council resolve to delegate the authority to the Chief Executive to obtain the required land within the travelling stock route at Mingula for the purpose of the construction of the Rural Fire Service Station, and also become the Crown Land Manager of that land.
Thanks, Heidi. Councillor's question to Heidi to do with the report. Councillor Bromwich Petrie.
Thanks, Heidi. It's just a description in the bottom of page 54 says the site is located adjacent to, but between the Mingula School and the Mingula Public Hall. If you look at the diagram, it's actually right at the front of the corner, which is the correct position, not actually between the two. So I'm just wondering if we could just make it clear in the officer's recommendation that we add the words as per site diagram, perhaps to make it very clear that that's what we're going for. And the second query I had was, it states that Crown Lands has said there's actually no issue with native title. However, in the list of things we have to do from Rodney O'Brien, it says if there is an Aboriginal land claim over the site, we will require a letter from the local Aboriginal Land Council also within the case. So which is it? Is the
We understand that there's no native title issues with that travelling stock route.
Thank you, Heidi. And that's good to hear. Any more questions to do with the report to Heidi? No? The recommendation, the officer's recommendations there, council, to resolve. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Sorry. Do we go back there, Mr. CE, to do with what councillor has indicated? All the wording again, councillor, thank you for making me aware of that.
at the end of the sentence.
As per the site diagram.
Yeah, as per the site diagram.
I don't think it needs it. Heidi's happy with that, and the council happy with it. So I'm happy that everyone's happy with that. We're all happy. Good. Happy. Okay, but thanks for bringing it up, councillor. Thank you, Heidi, once again.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, councillors, we'll move on to page 57 in your hard copy. Item GOV 65/18, it's a monthly operation report August 2018. Could I move the second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Murray, I thank you. Second, please. Councillor Michael Petrie, I thank you. And I'll hand over to our Chief Executive, Mr. Terry Dodds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reports are pretty self-explanatory, each individual part of it is. I'd highlight page 5 and page 13 of the report. Page 5 is the overall organisational statistics. Since the reporting commenced in March of this year, we've gone from 59% to 73% green, reduced the number of ambers down from 30 to 23, and reduced the number of reds down from 11 to 4. And some of those 4 are determinable by grant processes and the success or otherwise. And on page 13, under emerging issues, risks and opportunities, I've highlighted in yellow there, and it's predictable. It's been spoken about many times over the last few months, and that's the imposition of the load limits. I'm not being funny, but it's a little bit like communism, where everyone is equal except some people are more equal than others. Every bridge is equal except mine, which is more important than everybody else's. So every letter we've got, quite predictably, has said how important they are. We know that. We know the risks, we know the implications, we know the effect. And I asked councillors, and I know how hard our Chief Operating Officer is working on this with his team. He was out crawling underneath bridges yesterday, and I asked that councillors, the public, the media, and anyone else that will listen to understand 2 things. Number one, that it's a moving feast, that as more information is at hand, we adjust things as we go along. And we're actually actively trying to get more information about things. And secondly, to be patient. It's also not all about money. A lot of it's about coming up with pragmatic and practical solutions that actually cost less money than just writing great big cheques for people and giving them a licence to print money. So as I said before, it's predicted. We probably get 1 or 2 pieces of correspondence per day, some by phone, some writing in, some via a second party. If councillors are talking to people over this, which I know you are, I would strongly encourage them, if I were you, to write to the state and federal member. This is something that's going to be difficult for council to solve in the short term without the injection of green funding from the other 2 sources of government. Having said that, if you look on page 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, you'll see how much advocacy work's being done by council across a wide range of things, but in particular with bridges. I know the Honourable Thomas George, the member for Lismore, speaks to myself and the Mayor probably on average about once every 3 days, at the most once every 5 days, and sometimes every day. We've got a meeting with the Honourable Barnaby Joyce, the member for New England, tomorrow to speak about the same thing. And we speak, the Mayor and I speak to people within his office at least once a week. I understand through the Honourable Thomas George, the member for Lismore, that he's personally taken the matter up again in the last week with the Minister for Roads, Linda Pavey, and I understand that another councillor has spoken whilst down in Parliament House with staff from her office as well. And I understand from the correspondence we've got from the Killarney Co-op and other people, and having spoken to the officers working for the Honourable Barnaby Joyce that he's receiving quite a fair bit of correspondence from people as well. So it's a risk. There is 1,000 different options available. We've got really good faith in our engineering department. There's a lot of people contributing to weekly, but now fortnightly meetings with that. We're looking at alternative materials, we're looking at alternative bridges, we're looking at everything we can think of that is the most cost effective as well. The easy solution for this, lastly, I'd say that our corporate services, Paul and Kylie in particular, are working on a range, a potpourri of options for council to consider. And I wrote an email to them a couple of weeks ago, the good, the bad and the ugly. Basically everything we can think of so that we can flush out based on a risk appetite and financial capacity, what our limitations are, what we can do and what we can do, what we can do now and what we can do in the future, based on how much money we get for the latest round of grants. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Questions that need to do with the monthly report, councillors? Councillor Berry?
Got a couple.
I'll allow them, councillor.
Did we point out in the correspondence that we're a gateway Shire, gateway to New South Wales?
I'll have to get more information, Councillor Berry, on what?
That we're the first Shire in New South Wales and our bridges are falling down, it's not a good look in New South Wales. That type of thing.
Councillor Berry, I'm not privy to the exact details. I'll ask Andre to comment on the latest bridge grant applications.
Mr. Mayor, there's been 3 applications put into the state fund called Growing Local Economies. That closed some weeks back now, and it's my belief that we will have a result on the outcome of those applications come January of next year. But they're on the 3 most costly bridges that we have in our network. You know, there's well over $6 million worth of work there on these multiple span bridges. And whilst council has a certain amount of money that it has set aside as a co-contribution towards them, namely on Emu Creek Bridge on Hootons Road, there's been a certain amount that council has put aside, as has also the farming, main farming enterprise down there, the dairy farms. They've actually put up some support as well. So they obviously want to see their business go ahead. So those are the 3 big kickers in the overall inventory that we have. If we get those funds, they'll certainly make a difference to going forward. So it's Emu Creek on Hootons Road, it's Butterbur Bridge on Mount Nancy Road, and it's also Beery Creek Bridge up in Beverville.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor, you indicated another question.
I just really meant there that we should point out we're a gateway to New South Wales Shire.
If I can hop into council, thank you, because that's the one we'll take forward.
Because it was done by the previous engineer, we didn't get a bit of money into it, so I think we should press the point for a couple other questions.
I'll allow one councillor, because I'll go to Councillor Sawyer, and I'll come back to you, in fairness.
Okay, well, on page 120, 157 there, Northern Brader, mentions Patterson's Road, Lisbon.
Page 120, councillor?
127, 120.
Yep.
Northern Brader, it mentions Patterson Road, Lisbon.
Yep.
And I've been getting a lot of complaints from the northern end, there's a lot of money being spent on Patterson's Road, but Patterson's Road's the Legume, and I haven't seen any work done there. Is it a misnomer or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor, I'd have to just double check on the wording location and might have made a typo there. But certainly remember there's no doubt that we're first on Patterson's Road to where the locality, the exact locality is another issue.
Thank you, councillor. I'll come back to Councillor Sawyer.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The document represents a vast improvement on what we used to have to work with. I've got a couple of suggestions to further enhance it. The staff establishment chart on page 4, if it could have subtotals under each department and an overall establishment, approved establishment numbers at the bottom right-hand corner or something, would make it quicker to have a look at it. I know from some communication that Terry sent through, there were 105 employees when he first started, and I know they were understaffed compared to the account, but even on 2 count-throughs on the last 2 months, we're either at 135 or 136. That constitutes in excess of 20% increase. And I don't recall anything coming through council to increase that establishment charge. So that's just one thing. The second one, I can't remember what page it was on, but Terry mentioned that he had been to a meeting with a representative from the Cabinet and Premier Department, might have been Premier and Cabinet Department, about discussing aged care, and I'm just wondering why the only provider of aged care in Tenterville was not invited or made aware of such meeting.
What page is that on, Councillor?
I said, I don't know what page it was on. As I was reading through, I thought, I better remember that.
It's under the civic section. So, page 7 or 8.
Just bear with me, Councillor Sawyer, I'll find it. Councillor Sawyer, that wouldn't have been related to economic development with the comment by the Minister of Economic Development and Community Engagement about speaking with the state government, TAFE, and the DPC about having a aged care faculty of the TAFE and making Tenterfield an aged care training hub. That,
Page 9, second one.
yeah, because that's been happening, and that was driven by the state government. They had a thing where they picked a vibrant small town in the New England and a vibrant small town in the Nemoi JOs, where they asked each state government department what they've been doing over the last 10 or 15 years and what they could do into the future to make those towns more vibrant. And one of the things that came up in the health area was health and TAFE joining forces to make Tenterfield a aged care training hub by the TAFE. That rings a bell. I'm not certain about anything else, but I'll just check with what Councillor Brian Petrie said. So the bottom of page 9.
Yeah, no, this in the second bracket there. Well, 2nd July 2018.
Second from the bottom.
Okay, I understand there was a meeting between someone in the DPC and the Department of Health to discuss aged care, of which council was attending but not actually driving the meeting. And the comment there on council regularly meets health representatives, and that's talking about the meeting that's had at the hospital that the mayor attends.
On a monthly basis.
So it wasn't actually about aged care. But I can dig out the minutes of that meeting on the 2nd of July, Councillor, and bring them back to you, which should further enhance that.
Thanks, Terry. Just the detail of that particular paragraph alerted my attention because we, as you know, I'm chairman of the board at Tenterfield Care Centre, and we've not been made aware of that. However, we are participating in a meeting at the TAFE on the 28th. 29th or something.
Of this month, Councillor?
Some academy that's
Yeah.
being discussed.
Yeah.
But there was no talk of the Department of Premier and Cabinet being involved in it. It's TAFE and the local representatives.
Okay, thank you.
And through me, in relation to the other suggestion, that's a good suggestion. It may be the original staff establishment was 105. in the February report that went to council, went from 105 to 111 full-time equivalent. If you have a look through here, for example, the property specialist under property buildings and landscape coordinator, which is on basically the third line down, which is the management line. The property buildings and landscape coordinator, which is Heidi Ford's part-time. And the property specialist part-time or contract, which is Jennifer. There's a lot of positions on here which are 0.6s or 0.8s, which when added up, I would suspect, and this is where I think your question is coming from, the full-time equivalent. Now, when we did the structure, we didn't, or when we looked at the positions, we just didn't add someone for 5 days a week where it wasn't required. So there's a lot of positions, for example, trainees, there's a person at the depot at the moment helping in fleet that are actually paid for by other people as well, or others, other government departments. We're also getting assistance, I think it's about $10,000 a head, which is fully paid for by the federal government through some people working as well. So where we're getting something where we're getting very heavily subsidised or 100% subsidised, it's not actually coming out of the rate dollar. So maybe in addition to the subtotals and the total FTEs, we actually need a funding source, and that might clear it up a bit better.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Funding source, and also the part-time positions should be shown on the establishment chart as 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.75, and that'll clarify it, because at the moment, at face value, it's 135.
And Councillor, you raised some good points, because, I mean, as good as this document is, things like that only make it stronger, a better document. And we're all noted that how good that is going. Councillor, in fairness, Councillor McNish?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd also commend Terry on this document. It's really thick, but it's easy to read, and it answers a lot of questions. Just on that gateway, Gary, the gateway, well, initially, for the benefit of newer people to town, the Salvation Army Citadel was on that corner down there. Council purchased it, and we built the Visitors Information Centre. And then during my first term on council, there was a lot of extra funding there was for a gateway centre, which really meant that the building itself was more than doubled in size. And I think it was Tweed Heads, Tenterfield, and Albury Wodonga from memory. So it actually, Gary, it is a gateway, official gateway centre.
And Councillor McNish saw it as border towns.
Yeah, it's the three main, when we pass it on the main ones. Yes. Just on that thing that council, Councillor Curley, Councillor Sawyer brought up there. Another thing that be interesting to all of us, I think it's come up a lot, is the number of consultants that are employed by council. They seem to be everywhere, and people have done this fair to asking me, why are there so many consultants? And who are they? I said, I don't know. I'm not told. So maybe that's something that could be understaffed there, just as a sort of general area, what area they're in or something like that. The last one, about the bridges again, Terry. Robin and I are talking a fair bit of heat about Hawkins Gully out there. It's only a small bridge, but it does impact a lot of people. And people ring up and say, what's going on? The signs are this way, then they turn around, they're back the other way, and next thing they turn around again, next thing they're gone. What's going on out there? And also the fact that Cooks Road is just not a proper alternative. It's so narrow, so hilly, and I don't think much thought was put into using that as a alternative. So I think what we're going to do is get that one done first. And I think we've got to solve one of the problems.
I commend you, passion.
And the thing is small, it ain't cost a few bob. The job's done.
I think you parked your car on parking.
Order, please, Councillor McNish, thanks for your questions. Andre would like to reply.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, with regards to Hawkins Gully, I'll start with the signage, right? Council endorsed the setting up and basically the implementation of signs being set up right? We as staff have been acting on council resolution, and it was the clear intention, I believe, of this chamber to start rolling out progressively as it procured signs and the like, the implementation of the load limits. Now, a load limit was put on Hawkins Gully consistent with the previous council resolution, and it was stated that Cooks Road would be the alternative route. Now, I wasn't here at a particular meeting, but I understand that turning around of the signs was precipitated, right, on the basis of some sort of, I don't know whether it was a sale or meeting or whatever it was that was associated with some properties out that way. And council agreed to do it on a one-off basis, but then since it's been a case of the community just turning around the signs, right? And I suppose we're getting a little bit of pushback there, and it's inappropriate as far as I'm concerned. If the council applies a limit, it should stick to its guns, right? When it comes to Cooks Road, I don't accept, councillor, that Cooks Road is an unacceptable alternative. I've videotaped, right, or I should say video, and I can show you outside the meeting, right, where we've had a float, right, our own float, go around, navigate both ways at both intersections, go over that route, no problems, and if a float can do it, right, then I believe, a bloke who's got his truck licence, or anybody who's got the truck licence for that matter, should be able to navigate that route. Now, we're in the process of dealing with Hawkins Gully to look at what we can do to expeditiously put in place an interim solution, right? I don't want to see Hawkins Gully under a load limit, or any of the roads under a load limit for a long period of time. These interim solutions we're effectively working on. I physically did a load test, right, on that bridge, and I've gone back to the structural engineer and I've looked at a couple of options, and there are some things that we can possibly do. So I think we've just got to be careful a little bit that if we agree to something, we get on board, and people actively try to use what is available. Now, as I said, I'm happy to show you, right, the videos, and if our own float driver, right, can navigate a semi-float, right, around there, then I think that's, that's reasonable. Thank you.
May I?
Yeah, you can cancel, they're not going to cancel,
Did any
they're
vehicles
cancel.
come the other way?
Look, at the time, there was a number of vehicles on that road, but that road is, look, it's probably no different to a lot of our roads in terms of width. What people do, if they see something coming, they'll either pull over the side or they'll find an appropriate place to park. They slow down and look out for each other. That's been my driving experience in the country, and I don't see why this would be any different. Yes, there's one particular hill climb there that might be a bit of a challenge, but hey, look, as I said, the float did it, no issues. So I'm just struggling to see a little bit where the community might be wanting to jump up again and say, no, this is not good enough. The reality is, if we've got to go ahead and fix up Cooks Road before we go and apply a load limit, well, you could be spending lots of money wasted on Cooks Road on a detour that otherwise could be put on to an interim solution for the bridge. I'd rather, so I think people should just respect what we've endorsed, use Cooks Road, observe the load limit, and we'll get the load limit off as soon as we possibly can. And there are some things that we have in mind that's not going to cost us the earth, and we'll be able to get that load limit off.
Councillor Berry, then I'll go to you, Councillor Petrie, Brian Petrie.
Dear Andre, page 126, Transport Network, MR622, change 28 to 29, there's 53,000 being spent there. Is that little piece that you adopted yours just recently where they put the crash barriers?
Councillor, on page 26.
126.
Yeah, 126. And what part of the report? I'm sorry, Councillor.
third one down, transport network.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the safer roads, safer local government roads.
yeah,
That one.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Previously, councillor, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back and just sort of find detail on where, like, the location's not ringing a bell for me.
That's fine, yeah, it's just a piece they did recently, and down the bottom there, the same thing, where there's a bit of a gap, transport network culverts and pipes. On the Killarney Road, the piece you just finished there, it's, locals appreciate it, but there's great big Indian pipes being stacked up there, it looks as though they can dig the road up to put the pipes under. Killarney Road, on here, fourth up from the bottom.
This latest replacement of collapsed pipes. Is that what you're referring to, councillor?
No, transport network, culverts and pipes. Is that on the bottom?
Oh, yeah, okay. So the fifth one up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I apologise, yep.
So were you suggesting, councillors, that there's pipes that are being stacked up there waiting for a job to be done?
Yeah, it looks that way. And the locals, at the progress meeting, and local people taken back by because the road's just been finished. They're really, I don't know how rapturous with the road that the job has been done, and just worried it's going to dig it up and put the pipes under it.
What's the road?
Killarney Road.
Yeah, look, it may well be that, I'll double check on that, but it certainly would not be my intention to be going digging up after the event, right? A brand new section of road, going to put new pipes in. It might well have been that, it was their intention at one stage to do that work. But I know, I'm pretty sure that the construction work had to, for resourcing needs, had to get ahead of the normal construction practice of going and putting in culverts. But that said, I certainly wouldn't be recommending digging up a road right now and sort of doing it retrospectively.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful job there, and the locals are happy, and so I hope you're doing it.
Thanks for your comments, councillor. Councillor Petrie, Roman Petrie, you've indicated?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to talk about bridges, but just also wanted to feedback that there's been some good work done on some of the roads around the place.
With the reshading, councillor?
All just degrading,
Yeah.
taking them back out to the
Yep.
proper widths, and as well as some that drought money's
Yep.
been
Flood.
spent down these. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drought. One of those natural disasters.
Well, extremes we do.
Yeah, with the bridges, yeah, I was in Parliament House last week, and I had two of Melinda Pavey's people come up to an office. I was in, one of the politicians got them over. And that's what I said to them about the bridges and the fact that we keep getting knocked back for grants on the basis that we're not being double ready, as opposed to improving country roads, we're improving being double roads. They said, no, it's a productivity grant. So you've got to show in your grant that you get increased productivity through transport, or, well, 3 or 4 productivity, and one was no decreased productivity if the work wasn't done. I said, well, that's what we're suffering from, is decreased productivity. And they said, oh, but your grants say, if the bridges aren't fixed, replaced, whatever, say Emu Creek, then the trucks can't use it. But they don't say the trucks can't use it and therefore would have to detour via da-da-da-da-da. And I said, fair dinkum, are you serious? You want kindergarten speak? And they said, yes, that's how the department works. They actually want the consequence spelled out. I said, there's 800 people working at Berry Farm. And then I said, trucks have to drive through the creek to get past the bridge. They said, they what? I said, well, that's what we've got to go like. But it was just, to me, so it wasn't the fact that they weren't B-double, because then I said, Casino Highway isn't B-double a road, so why would you have a feeder road B-double ready? And so anyway, they're going to relook at our things, but I just thought it was quite extraordinary that they actually physically want the consequence spelled out in the department to assess that grant. So the message back is, baby talk on road, any grants? All the baby talk as a consequence. Now, but the other thing, back to Cooks Road and Falcons Gully, When those signs were first turned, it was just before the sale, after our meeting there a couple of weeks back, and I brought a photo in, showed it to Terry, we talked to the assets people, and they went straight out and had a look, and they said, no, these signs, they turned them around. But then, a week later, the signs at the bridge were turned, but the signs at each end were then turned back. I believe under instruction, but the bridge signs weren't turned. And there's confusion there because you've got the little sign saying 7-ton GVM with a cross through it, but no sign saying at the bridge. So it looks as if, and that doesn't go with our risk matrix, it said there's to be no confusion to motorists, because that says to people, well, I can't take my truck up to Sharps from this end or to Ross Roads or Brooks's or Brian Kelly's, because the road is cancelled for 7-ton GVM. It's not, it's the bridge. So I think our signs have to be very clear that it's the bridge that the load limits apply to, not the roads that come up each side of it, because that is causing confusion. Now, as for the unloaded float going across that thing with Kerry Graham, who, as we all know, is a very, very experienced truckie, he wasn't going along with a full load of bullocks or cattle or anything, or passing trucks going up and down there. Now, the other day I came across through there, and a car flew over the top with a trailer on the side, and I was nearly going to the side. So it is very blind, it is very narrow. You've got Jimmy Cook's Hill, which is well over 10% grade, and that vehicles already in the dry have trouble getting up with a full load of cattle. So in the wet, or people having to come from away, it is going to be a problem, and I still think it is not, if an incident's going to happen, it's when. And the causeway is going to get busted out. It has got too many blind and narrow sections. We even had 2 people, very experienced locals, passing with horse floats, and one had to actually unload the horses to get the horse load out of the gutter. So that's 2 horse floats. That's not 2 heavy vehicles. So certainly I don't think that the money should be spent there. If you're going to have a detour, you put it right where there's an existing one, just needs the culverts and things back next to that bridge. But it services a very large area of the Shire, and there's no alternatives. So my point is, if something happens on Cook's Road, what's your next step? Because there isn't one. There's no other alternative. So that's our concern out there with the bridge. And I don't like getting under bridges, particularly after being bitten by a snake, but oh geez, I still did get under it the other day. And I was expecting to see lots of broken girders and all sorts of things, but it's a huge cause of stress. And the other thing there, if you come out to the dam, there's not even a sign saying detour via Casino Road, Cook's Road. You just get there and it just says no truck. Well, what's a truckie from away with a load of cottonseed or something supposed to do when he gets there? So our signage is wrong, and I don't know if that is the same across the other systems, the other river crossings, etc. But I think that it's got to be implemented better. And when we did vote for that stuff, but at the time, Councillor Michael Petrie said that corner coming onto Cook's Road was dangerous, heading to the Rocky because of the angle and the slope. And he was told at the time that there'd been work done on it, and hasn't been work done on it at all. It's got a 4-metre gap trying to twist a thing on an S. So I hope all the truckies are as capable as Kerry Graham, but it is a big concern. The other thing is, where are you meeting with Barnaby, here or down?
Andrea, did you want to reply? Councillor, just before I do, and because we've been supportive and appreciative of the council staff coming forward and making us aware as a council that we have concerns with the bridges. And as a council, we've been very supportive of that. We need to be supportive of what our staff and through the engineering department, what they're trying to do, and through what CE and myself are trying to do to raise some funding. And when Paul does his presentation, deal with their finances, the money that's already been found to start and support this program. So please stick together with this. I know it's not easy, and I know that the heat's on all of us, and it's just something that we're going to have to go through. It's not a good timing, but we'll be irresponsible not to take on board the information we've been given as a council, and we'll get there. But we need to take the community with us and get them to help us. Or did you want to reply?
Yeah, look through this, man. Yes, our flight driver's a good driver. So that's acknowledged, right? But anybody that's been driving for years on end, right? I don't care whether they're driving a float or driving a horse float or what they're driving, they'll drive to the conditions, and that's what I've learned over a long period of time for driving. So when we set this, when we looked at the alternatives, I was absolutely loath to go and put in side tracks, right? And I'm putting side tracks, right? If you look at Hawkins Gully, yes, there's been something there in the past, but you've got a lot of shelving there. By the time you go and try and get fisheries approval, go and put in culverts, you go and spend more money, frankly, on putting in a detour than we might get away with trying to fix up the bridge for the interim, right? So I suppose just good financial use of what dollars we do have, and bear in mind the council resolution was to initially divert what we have in our program, right, for I think it was an amount of 412,000 or thereabouts in our major timber component replacement program. So we were seeking to look at diverting what we could there to provide some immediate solutions on probably the most heavily trafficked roads or the most impacted roads, and in the meantime look at going to bat for other dollars out there that might sort of help our situation. We've certainly been doing the latter, with advocacy. To what extent that's bearing fruit is another thing, and to what extent that message will listen to is another thing. But certainly we've done the deep dive into our organisation just to see where we can potentially reroute some other funds, and that will be discussed with council in due course. So I suppose just the takeaway for all of you, I hope, is that we are looking at what dollars we have. We're trying to look at the best use of those dollars. We are very mindful of safety. I know when it comes to Cooks Road, it wasn't just a flippant, let's run down Cooks Road. We actually did, before that recommendation did come to it, we did have a number of people drive that road, and albeit after the event, just to double check and prove that it physically could be done, that we weren't sort of asking people to do mission impossible. We had our own equipment run that route. So what I would say, councillor, is that at the end of the day, we're trying to make the best use of the resources we've got. I take your point about the signage that can be sharpened up. Certainly, where there's, and our teams acknowledge that. They've said what we should have is a little sign underneath. If there's, say, irrespective of what the load limit is, just put at the bridge, a separate little sign on the same side, at the bridge, so people know that they can go along to a certain distance so far. So, but I'm hearing you in that regard.
So this is a supplement. So with the follow-up work you've done there with your static load testing, etc., what time frame are you looking for some of your other options? Because as I understood it, when we voted for the load limits, we were told if we didn't do that, we'd have catastrophic failures such as those ones up north, which we were totally wrecked and how they'll never go through, I don't know. So that was understood. Or is the load limit selected to make that bridge last, or any of the bridges in the Shire last for, say, 10 or 20 years? Or is it just the load limits selected and the speed limits to make those bridges last for 3 years? Or what would they predicate on?
Okay, those load limits, they're called safe working load limits, right? And they are based on the structural engineer's assessment of the condition of the bridge as it is now, without any additional interim treatment, remediation or whatever. You don't touch that bridge, right? You should be able to get, right, the order of possibly 5 to 10 years out of it. It depends on the extent of the deflection that's being applied to the bridge, or I should say the loading that's applied to the bridge, and also the speed upon the bridge. So you'll notice with every place where we put speed limit in place, that is very much to limit the effect, right, of any loading that's placed on the bridge. If you don't have a speed limit on, you're effectively, you could be doubling the load, the real load that's being on that bridge. So irrespective, so we came back with a 20-tonne load limit on a bridge, we had no speed limit on it, right? It'd be like potentially hitting that bridge with a 40-tonne load, right? Which could well bust the back of it, right? You'd have busted girders. So that's why you're going to see speed limits that, and we'll do whatever we have to. If we have to put speed humps in, which is probably part of the regime going forward, we'll do that to make sure traffic are very aware that those speed limits are there and they're there to be observed. So people won't be able to sort of, walk away and think, gee, we didn't know about that sort of thing, and gee, that slipped my eye. So speed's very important. The load limit itself is about the longer term, because we can't get to all of these bridges. We can't get to 58 bridges in 10 years now. So part of the strategy going forward is to deal with a replacement program that's out 20 years, not 5 years. So these interim solutions, right? With regards to right now, I'm looking to have something that we can put in place in the next month or two. I might have to just look at what I can do. I don't think there's a heck of a lot that we will have to do with regards to Hawkins. It's more in the piers that are the issue. Providing we can keep the speed limits down, I think we'll be able to rate it back to T44 loading, which is just normal semi-trailer, 20-tonne axle loading on the rear three axles, right? So if I can sort out the piers, I believe we'll be able to do something here, and it's not a big issue in light of the deflections that I saw. So it's an issue. Yeah. So minimal. Yeah. Hopefully minimal.
Thanks, Andre. Councillors, I think we've had a pretty good discussion there. It is ongoing. We need to be, to repeat myself, need to be supportive of our staff and to get through this, and we will. So the officer's recommendation there, all happy to receive a note. Against? Carried. Councillors, lunch is there. Do you want to break for lunch? We come back and have a red hot go this afternoon. Oh, can I have a motion? Can I have a motion to suspend standing orders? Councillor Bob Rogan, second please. Councillor Brian Murray, thank you. All in favour? Aye, against, carried. Thank you. Okay, councillors, I'll bring the meeting back to order and call a motion to resume standing orders, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second by Councillor Murray, I thank you. All in favour? Against, carried. Councillor, before we start, thanks for sharing your lunch and the staff at attendance. It was good. So I really appreciate it. Councillors, on page 58, your hard copy, it's item GOB 66/18. It's Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference to 18, submissions of motions on the delegated authority. And I'll hand over to our CEO to present this one. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is pretty straightforward. What's happening in local government, and look, we're not the only local government to bring this up, is that it just seems that there's a giant merry-go-round of grant after grant after grant application, and I've had this conversation with the chair of the joint organisation. I've spoken to the CEO of COVE about it. I understand that Belgian Council, Narendra, Vega, and quite a few other councils think the same thing. And the chair of the New South Wales.
I apologise, councillors, I have to move and second to deal with this item. Councillor Berry, second please. Councillor Michael, thank you.
And Katrina Humphries, the chairwoman of the New South Wales country mayors, has brought this up as well. For things like bridges, they're not aspirational. Roads aren't aspirational. They're not things that the community would like to have. They're essential for running a community. And I can't see why a similar index are similar to the financial assistance grants, can't be especially set up to remove the burden that states are facing not only in Tenterfield but all councils with replacing of aged infrastructure. Exactly the same way we get grants for the financial assistance grants. We've probably spent 40 or 50k in the last 12 months on grants. Now, if you look at the 7 councils that's in the JO, and they've all spent 50 grand, that's 175 grand that could have gone towards a piece of infrastructure instead of people writing out applications or more, because that's only for bridges. We do them for quite a few different things. So this report is just to speak to that local government isn't a machine to get yourself on the front page of a paper cutting a blue ribbon or giving money out. It's an essential, bridges are essential, transport infrastructure is essential, whether it be rail, road or aviation. And this report's just to give myself and others a mandate through the JO, through the Mayor, through the New South Wales Country Mayors, and any other opportunity we have when we're speaking to the state member to get something changed. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Jerry. Councillors, questions to say to do with the motions that are going to the conference? Councillor Murray, yes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So what are we saying here, Terry, that you're then speaking as a voice, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, the report is delivered a little bit vague, but basically says that we approach local government New South Wales, lobby the New South Wales government to modify the application process. If I was to do that without a mandate from council, I'm not representing the will of council. So this report is to obtain a mandate from council whether they feel that's a good idea or not, so that we can go to our association, which is Local New South Wales, which we pay for, and say, fair enough, we understand what the process has been in the past, we think it's wrong, we'd like you to investigate and advocate for this.
Can I also ask, I think when we get a federal grant, does the state take a little bit off that before we get it?
I can answer that, yes.
Oh, yes. So would it be prudent for us to?
I wish you well, councillor. But anyway, I think it could even be 14%, it's ridiculous. But anyway, right on the money. To be supportive of the chair of the council to do with this motion we're talking about, which we're so important, and I know that it'll be support across the board, because with that bag stretch, which is from the federal government and the state government, assist with anything else, taking a cut. There are no, you can do what you want with that. I mean, that starts to use the roads or in the general fund. And that was spoken about earlier, so you share that with you, so the motion is basically around that, and will the state government to do the same with these funds, because it's never going to fit, as Terry been saying, through the engineering department, explained us that we're putting applications for bridge funding, and they come back and say the roads will be double access, well, never bloody will be. So it's wrong, the criteria is wrong. It'll never get up. So, and through our JO, I shared it with them the other day in support of Terry, that all our councils within our JO, Benedus, as I go, Byron's, now Armadale and Uralla, all share with us because we all share the same divide. So don't tell me we're all on the same page when we're talking about the eastern side, but those roads are never going to be cleaned up and roofed. So, and that's what we're on there. Change the criteria.
So the key word is inspiration, not aspiration.
Right. Can we use both in one sentence? Okay. Any more questions, comment, councillors, to do with this report? The report's there to receive a note. All in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, page 61 in your hard copy. It's item GOB 67/18, finance accounts, period end the 1st of August. Got a move in the second here, please, to deal with this item. Councillor Robert Beakley, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Paul Graven, and thank you. And obviously welcome Paul back and Paul to present. Thank you, Paul.
Very
$321,000 as at 31st August. Just want to note that that was the investment $8 million in that. So,
Thank you for council's questions. The board to deal with this financial report. The board said receive a note. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Council 65, in your hard copy, page 65, item GOB 68/18. Capital Expenditure Report as of 31st August 2018. Once again, a move and second there, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Tom Peters, I thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to Paul to present this report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report shows the capital expenditure for the 31st of August 2018. We note that I have a new column on the slide which provides some comments in response to the statements of some colleagues. We note that there are some where there's the expenditure but no budget as yet. That's due to carry forward from last year. That was report over. Any questions, happy to take them.
Questions to Paul to do with this report, councillors? Report's there to receive a note. All in favour, councillors? Against? Carried. Thank you. Page 67 in your hard copy. Item GOB 69/18. June 17/18 financial statements to be referred for audit. For audit, I'm sorry. Can I move in second here, please? Councillor Berry, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Rogan, thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to Paul to present this report.
Thank you. It's you again, Mr. Mayor. This report is really a procedural report in terms of the set of requirements under the Local Government Act in relation to the financial statements. The Council has to resolve, in its opinion, the general purpose financial statements and the special purpose financial statements and the special schedules probably gone up the first provisions of the Local Government Act. And the financial statements to be approved and signed by the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, the Chief Executive Officer and the Responsible Accounting Officer. The financial statements to be referred to Council Auditor for audit. And that the audited financial statements be forwarded to the Office of the Governor by the 31st of October 2018. And that the Chief Executive Officer be delegated authority to after Council receives a copy of the audited financial statements and audit report to place on public exhibition Friday 2nd November 2018, and the notice be given the Council will present its audited financial statements at the ordinary Council meeting to be held on the 28th of November 2018, and that the audited financial statements be presented at the meeting of Council will be held on the 28th of November 2018 in accordance with Section 191 of the Local Government Act. So it's really a procedural thing that we need to sign upon for submitting the accounts to audit. In terms of the draft accounts themselves, I've handed out a revised copy of the financial statements today. I've actually been working on it the last few months. And you'll see that the profit has increased from 6.617 million to 7.366 million. It's an additional 749,000 from the original the statements. Predominantly that's around capitalisation of some expenses. You'll also note that the draft operating position excluding capital income and capital contributions has also improved from 1.439 million to 2.188 million, that same increase. I had mentioned in my report about the recognition of found assets, about 1.9 million, and the accounting treatment of that recognition. As per my report, at the moment we've treated it as income in the current, in the 17th year. That was based on advice from the auditors during the interim audit. As mentioned in my report, really these are prior year errors, if you like, in terms of the classification of these items. Found assets is probably a misnomer. It's really the initial recognition of these assets is what we're doing, because they were recognised before. And thanks, I just want to thank the audit committee members who were sent a copy of the draft financial statements, and they provided some feedback on the statements. A lot of it was around finding and presentation, and we've taken on board those comments. But one of the comments was just about use of the term found assets, and yes, initial recognition of assets is probably the better terminology, so we incorporate that into the statements. So just on that, the recognition of the found assets, we wanted to double check with Forsyth, so we contacted them again, and yes, the advice is to treat it as we have treated it at the moment. So that's good. The point to note is that even if we took out that 1.9 million of found assets, we would still be in surplus in both the before and after the capital contributions. So it's a positive thing.
Question, I'm sorry, Paul.
The ratios, most of the ratios are positive, and I'll come to those in a minute. The water and sewer fund results, once again, that's changed slightly from this report. The water fund has a draft surplus of 2.779 million, and the sewer fund of 1.012 million. So that's it in terms of that report. In terms of the statements themselves, I particularly want to refer to page 70 of the general purpose financial statements, which is the figure of the two documents, the three documents, sorry. So just with the ratios, the operating performance ratio is currently showing 13.13%. It's well above the benchmark. The own source operating revenue ratio has increased at the moment from 45.28 to 52.87%. The unrestricted current ratio has also slightly increased to 4.84%. The debt service cover ratio is currently at 12.51%. Base annual charges, interest and extra charges outstanding percentage is 7%, and the cash expense ratio is 15.16 times. So they're all, apart from the, and in fact all of those are favourable, positive, and that's a good result. I just want to highlight those things for you. I also wanted to just touch on the cash restriction, and I know that's something that interests most councillors after the workshop that we had recently, particularly with regard to the bridges, and so one of the things we're also trying to do is find financial bridges into next money. Now, at the moment, there's an amount restricted in what's called a special projects account, reserve restricted cash of $912,000. It's on page 30 of the financial statements. I guess the other, $912,000 in special projects. I had hoped to be able to come to you today and say that practically all of that we could put towards bridges if that was on wish for council. $703,874 of that has been restricted for a number of years, probably since 2011, in relation to what I call the Lehman Brothers investment issue back at that time. And it's been held because there's been ongoing legal action that council has been a defendant of in the United States on that issue. And Lehman Brothers lost the initial case and then appealed. And that appeal only got resolved in March this year, where once again they lost the appeal. So the thinking was that that would free up that $700,000 to go to be used. Contacted Squire Patton Boggs, who were the solicitors involved in that. I just wanted to make sure that was the end of the matter, and received advice from them last night, in fact, that they're not aware whether or not there's a further appeal of the decision of the US District Court, but they're going to make some inquiries and come back to me. So until they come back to me, I'm loath to say that's available.
Yep.
But having said that, there's probably 250 or so that is available out of that could be put towards bridges if so desired. So just on that matter as an aside, myself, Kylie, Andre, Terry, we're working on options as I mentioned earlier, and no doubt we'll come back to you in the near future with something on that issue. So that's just as a bit of a side, but in terms of the financial statements, happy to take any questions.
Any questions to Paul to do with the report? And councillors, to repeat what Paul said, please be aware that these drafts are handed out just as we come back in, and we don't need a recommendation to accept them. It's just an update. That is the current situation of those three documents. I'll just share it with us. So questions, comments? Paul? No? Councillor Bromley?
Paul, just with those ratios in respect to our bit for the future, so they all, sure we had those exposed requirements, so that all puts us in good stead with them.
Through you again. Yes, in terms of those ratios, they're all positive, and once again, this is drafts and statements are still to be ordered, but presuming it goes as planned, then this will be 2 years in a row where you achieve the good result, and the intention would be to then go to the relevant authorities and seek to have the restriction on our being able to borrow from Seagull District.
And the found assets as opposed to lost ones, like what is the land, what is the type of land, buildings and plant that have been found?
Once again, through you, Mr. Mayor. Note 9, the statements on page 34. This gives an indication of the areas where there's some buildings around the water and sewer plant. There's some buildings there. There's some land and there's some farm equipment. 333 there. There's some farm equipment. So, yeah, there's a few areas there. I think that's shows the importance of the revaluation process that we go through when we get people into check the assets, and also as we've been having here this year, helping to stock take, and so fresh eyes on things.
What about the sewage, the surplus? It's got there the sewage and the water. If you look at the total revenue operating cost, it keeps showing that the operating cost is less than the revenue, but we're always told that they're being subsidised. So what's the go?
Switch it on. You just switch it off.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'll have to have a look at the carry forwards for those there. There could be unspent money, unspent project money, capital projects from last year. That all fits into that, so that would be why.
Any more questions to Paul, councillors? Councillor Rogan, and then I'll go to you, Councillor Murray.
Thanks, through you, Mr. Mayor. On the graphs for the ratios, Paul, the debt service cover ratio, that's been going up and getting more positive every year. So the benchmark of 2 is 12.5. So aside from that 200 and something thousand that could be used on bridges, with a potential on another 700,000 if the Lehman Brothers thing works out favourable, is there still, I don't think that should be factored into that, should it? So there's still potential there, if I read that correctly, for extra borrowing for stuff that's urgent.
I was again through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, and you know from your training, the session we had with the financial consultant, New South Wales, local government New South Wales, that yes, certainly that ratio indicates that council has the capacity to be able to borrow additional money. That will come down a little bit this year because of the loans that we already intend to take out, 2.8 or so million. But even with that, there is still capacity to take out further loans if required. I guess my comment on that would be that let's see what the outcome is of our discussions internally first and see what other money is available. We have a lot of other infrastructure issues as well that we need to address in the coming years around the water plant, around waste. So certainly it is something that's in my mind. There's a potential that we could potentially borrow to fund some things, but I'd like to, in conjunction with my colleagues, have a planned approach and see what we can come up with. So we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Paul. Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. My understanding with Lehman Brothers, I thought Australia worked independently of the US. Not true?
I was getting through the chair. No, there was a subsidiary of Lehman Brothers in Australia, but it's all tied up in that.
Thank you.
Councillor Sawyer.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to Paul and his team for finding that extra potential money. My school of thought was inspired even further by the workshop we did over at the TAFE with the financial rate, that if you actually do put the money away that you depreciate into whatever little vehicle you want to call it, you don't have to go borrowing money at the end of the day to replace the asset. If you write off $1 million in depreciation on an asset over 10 years and you put that $1 million away, you should be able to then go and pull that $1 million out and replace it. I'd like to flag that we need to workshop a change of attitude in the way we handle our finances, that we should physically put the money aside for the depreciation and draw it down as we need to replace the items on the way through. And the fors and against in that workshop I think.
So you're going to speak to that. Terry?
Through Mr. Mayor, I couldn't agree with Councillor Sawyer more, as it's actually a requirement under the IPR component of 2009 as amended Local Government Act that we aim towards sustainability. One of 6 things that we don't defer costs to future generations, meaning that we provide intergenerational equity and that we live within our means. So I wholly condone this fresh attitude.
Any more questions to Paul? Councillors, to do with the report? Before I grab a Paul, thank you for that and all the people working around your office to do with the financial statements and fitting in the job you've taken on. It's always impressed and we're very appreciative of the councillors. It means everything to us, obviously with the situation that we're facing. I do need to note on page 7 in the hard copy with asset management that we are, you know, with the 3 big ticket items, as I look at them, the timber bridges, the waste management, the water filtration, there are tough kicks going ahead. And the more that's presented to us as a council, it's in our mind and we need to deal with that, well, it will be dealt with, but obviously you can't do it without funding. So I do commend you on the way you present your report, and that's easy for someone like me to follow. The times I come in your office and ask you stupid questions, I do, but thank you for allowing me to time, because you always clear it all up. So I do, thank you. Right, councillors, the report's there. All happy to adopt the report. In favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, that's the end of our major council reports for economy, community, economy, environment and governance. We move on to our reports from delegates and committees. We move on to page 72. It's item RC 22/18. It's a report from the Murray-Darling Association conference attended by Councillor Don Forbes. Councillor, being the author of that, would you happen to move that? Thank you, Councillor Forbes. And the second one, please. Councillor Bronwyn, thank you. Councillor Forbes, I'll hand over to you to present the report, mate.
Oh, well, I just made it basically a,
John.
sorry, yes, the report is basically a summary of the, all the presentations that were made over the 2-day period. I found it very, very interesting and very, very enlightening. I've just made some very, very, short notes about what was the thrust of each presentations. You know, the natural resource regulator on day one, he made it very, very clear that it's going to be a painful experience to farmers and so forth that they don't comply. So the rice industry presentation was very impressive. So was the cotton industry one. I won't go through them all. An interesting one was this page 73 at the top, the Bittern, B-I-T-T-E-R-N. I've never heard of this endangered bird before, but I must say, and they're actually using the rice fields as their wetlands, and they're making a comeback. And it's becoming a bit of a, a sort of a talking point amongst all the rice farmers there to see how many bitterns they got in their rice paddies. So, yeah, the next one down, the Commonwealth Environmental Water Office, the lady just said that this is very significant. I thought the outcomes from the use of water must be achieved in the catchment, and then some water may get to assist the flow further downstream. So she's very, very strong on that particular point. So it's quite an impressive presentation. So apart from that, no, the next day, the third day, was a tour of some of the local industries around Leeton, and that was very impressive. There was went to a cotton gin. They're building a third cotton gin in the area. But the one that we did was actually financed by 5 farmers around about 8 or 10 years ago, each contributing $100,000 each. And massive gin it is, and there's now a third one going up. And Griffith, visited a Murray cod farm, a young fellow in his 30s. He'd no government assistance, he's done it all on his own. He was a cotton farmer, rice farmer, and then decided to get involved with raising Murray cod fish. And he looks like he's got a significant export market to the Japanese restaurants. He just said he just came back from wanted to find some business over there. The next, the last one, the Productivity Commission, they delivered their draft report given by Dr. Jane Doolan and Tom Madden. I've already sent out a brief on that, and I think there's been some more correspondence to that sent out in a few months. There has been, yes. Yeah, so, and at the regional Bob and I attended their putting in a submission to entering this draft report. Okay, and then the next AGM is up at Toowoomba next year, the date and venue to be advised. So strongly recommend that all councillors should be eligible to go. That's my recommendation with the city and the Chief Operating Officer.
Questions, Councillor Forbes, to do with the report, Councillor Peets?
I just want to ask for a bit
Microphone, Councillor. Tom. You're right. You're right. The mic.
Oh, that one.
Well, not me, I'm up here now. Continue on.
Okay, well, just to add to that, I went to a warning meeting down in Beulah. And, if you haven't got meters on the pumps, you don't pump anymore. It's going to take 5 or 6 years to get it all done. And I've got no installers, I've got no meters. And you've got to install a meter on a pump any bigger than 100 millimetres. I don't know how they're going to get it all done, but anyway, just a lot of advice.
No, thank you. Good. Any questions to Councillor Forbes to do the report? Councillor Bronwyn, please.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think going to Toowoomba is a great idea since it's so close. And the carp, I wanted to ask Don, they're saying that they can't release that carp killing thing, virus. Because when it does kill them, there's a dead carp everywhere found up the waterways. So what is there a plan to galvanise a response once it is released? Because the sooner they kill it, the better. That's the problem.
Well, basically, it was Kevin Cooper, he was the one he was highlighting the logistics in cleaning up the carp, because it's going to be within 48 or 72 hours that they're going to be, it's going to kill the carp, and the biomass is just going to be so humongous that they haven't yet worked out a plan yet to be able to eradicate these, get it out of the waterways, etc. And so the issue is until that's resolved, the virus is not going to be released. You've got to be satisfied that they can manage it once the dead fish are floating to the top of the dam.
So were they looking at going maybe valley by valley or?
Oh yeah,
stage approach?
Yeah, well, they're looking at, a stage approach, that's for sure, but it's got to be manageable. You've got to be able to get them out, that's the gift. They're just going to throw it in the whole waterway. So they haven't got, the plant equipment to haul these this biomass out.
Councillors, any more questions to Councillor Forbes? To the report? Councillor Forbes, thank you for attending that and the conversations I've already had with you. You're very impressed with the presentation and the speakers down there, and it's good to see us back on. Not that I was a great supporter, but we're there now, and for no other reason, of course, we should be in the room, as you always say. But anyway, but I do thank you for the report. And just a question, we mentioned those cotton gins and they're privately funded. Are all three privately funded?
I believe so. Yeah, the one that we visited was the first one that they constructed. So I think it's the same outfit. It's called Southern Cotton. It's called
right.
And all the cotton's exported.
Yep.
It's
thank you, Councillor. Councillor, the report's there. I'm happy to receive a note. Councillor Carey, thank you. Next report, councillors, is the Local Traffic Committee, and being the chair of that, I'm happy to move that. Can I have a second, please? Councillor Berry, I'll thank you. Have you taken any questions to do with the Local Traffic Committee, councillors? No? Councillor McNish, we'll go with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a phone call on Sunday about the Timberville settlement with Witches Handouts.
Yep.
I was heading south at the time around the country, and I drove past, it was indeed out, so that guy just seems to be totally ignoring our directives.
Well, they but one out, or was it two or just one, councillor?
No, just one up
Yeah,
there.
because he's waiting on that, yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
We are, the staff are dealing with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for noting it.
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor Bronwyn?
I was just sort of still wondering what's happening at Riley Street, and now it's not just vehicles using it, but for some reason they're not pulling up the stop sign. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. That was one. And the other thing was the Rouse Street zigzag line, which was raised here earlier, because we can get quite a few near misses there, and we used to have it enough there.
Andre, would you like to comment, please? On both items, if you could.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor. Councillors, with regards to Riley Street, my understanding is that there's got to be perhaps a little bit more investigation, and I'll be candid, it's probably voluntarily dropped to well down the pipe in terms of other priorities that are on this, but when I say a little bit more investigation, in terms of what you can do to perhaps place some sort of I'm just trying to think of the right words, but it's basically a no-through location, right, somewhere along the a little bit around where there is that S curve, that bit of a chicane, we almost got there at this point in time, but basically you close the road at that location, but you've got to have in place bollards or something that can be easily, you know, taken out by emergency services, you know, not something that can be just driven over or what have you. I think that would be my leaning to sort of try and cater for the needs of both the public in that area, as well as the needs of the community, I should say the industrial community. Yes, the industrial community has effectively one way in, one way out. I know that's not ideal, but ultimately there's got to be some more investigation as to what we can do there, and it'll have to be just a workshop, perhaps with the traffic committee as well, and dare I say council, before we sort of resolve anything there. I know it's been a little while in the coming, but that's just the state of things, councillor. With regards to Rouse Street, the zigzags, that was brought up by myself, the traffic committee. I mean, and I made the comment, and there's actually going to be a report that goes back to council, back to the traffic committee, which will be recommending that we do that in addition to anything else that we've done. Because I'll state through personal experience, right? I've been on those crossings, particularly the one up near the Bruxton Highway, and 3 times now, both in daylight and in evening. With high vis on, people have just ploughed through that crossing. When I was on the crossing, and I had to physically pull myself up, so I didn't come to tend to be able to get one over.
This wasn't the same car all the time, John.
No, as long as I've got next marks on something like that, yeah, no, in all seriousness, it hasn't been lost on our radar, and we will be chasing it through RMS, through the traffic committee.
How long does it take to get action? I mean, this was raised months ago. It's like, I mean, for goodness sake, how long did it take to get approval for the zigzag lines that we used to have years ago? Everyone's registered we had zigzag lines. And it's the same down in other buildings. You get there sometimes and something will be coming along and they don't, whether they're distracted by the pretty buildings or something, I don't know. Or council soil might be. The other thing is, it's just, it's so slow to get some action on something that you think is pretty inoffensive and fairly necessary. But the other thing, just back to Riley Street, if we put up bollards, that means this is a truck issue, isn't it? So why would we put bollards that are going to stop vehicles going up? Because vehicles go to that industrial estate. So,
yeah, of course you can.
We can't have it both ways, councillors. We're getting the locals who are living in the street saying that they don't like the fact that people in the industrial estate are ploughing through there at 6 o'clock or 6:30 in the morning, creating noise. So they're not too happy about that. There might be the very odd light truck that goes through there, but why they would want to go through there when they've got to go and stop it further down the hill is anybody's guess. We've got one major access in, and once we get the bypass in, that major access into the industrial estate will be enhanced. So I don't have a problem with that one way in, one way out. Providing emergency access is maintained. So I don't see how you're going to stop trucks going along that route unless you're physically going to put bollards up and just make it in such a way that the local traffic can get up and down where there are residences. But if somebody wanting to go to work, realistically, go around, take an extra minute to go around the highway and come in.
I thought it was all about trucks, not about people driving to work in their private cars.
Not at all. It is totally about heavy transport using that. That's what was
No,
at the
just
start.
when I said that they're not happy about people going off there at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to say, well, stop being so precious.
I've got to explain. I think he's referring to heavy transport.
Yeah, but
No, he said the occasional truck.
I've heard 2 stories, right? It's not just trucks, right? It starts, the early morning starts, etc. So, like I said, you can't have it both ways. If you're going to try and effectively stop trucks or stop traffic, right, going right through that route, I can't see too many other ways of dealing with the issue. Going back to the traffic, apparently that issue was actually brought up before my time.
It's been there for a while.
It's been there for a long, long time, but then it fell off the books for whatever reason, and I resurrected it myself. It wasn't even a standing order item. I raised it at the last traffic committee meeting.
Well, from me, can you say that traffic committee? I get a bit frustrated seeing stuff in the traffic committee that seems to take, but, I mean, Jesus was resurrected quicker.
That was about it.
So,
It's only 3 days.
that's right, I mean, it's true, I mean, it's just extraordinary. Is it going to take someone getting killed on one of those crossings to get a little bit of paint put on the thing? But as for Riley Street, we have houses along the highway here that have trucks going through all night, that have vehicles going through, a high number of vehicles. So if the residents in Riley Street can't cope with a few people going to work of a morning, and people who need to access those businesses for whatever they might be doing up there, move to the countries. I mean, I'm sorry, but how precious can you be? It's a road. It was a road.
Street.
It was a street before most of those houses were built. In fact, there was not one home built on the right-hand side until recent years. So it's like the Essendon Airport. Oh yeah, we'll put an airport out in the middle of nowhere, then houses build up to it because all of a sudden it's bitumen. Then, oh my God, we can't have plane noise. I'm sorry, but it's a harsh reality. You can't then go, oh no, I've got a lovely house up here, and I don't want someone going past wrecking my sleep at 6 o'clock in the morning. Get light.
To be supportive of Andre's comments, councillor, that it will, in time, it will, because it's been there for a while, and it's one of those decisions that we've made by this council with this Riley Street. I ain't talking about Riley Street. But fully support Andre from the engineering department to do with the we might have to workshop it a bit, but it's one of those not real easy ones. I fully support what you said. You don't like where you live, we'll come in and go to town the same way you come in if you want to. But it's just one of those ones that we've been dealing with for a while. It was originally put there with the through a former engineer, but it was mainly to do with heavy transport, and we just dealt with it from that day forward. That's right. But we'll get there. And with this exact councillor, fully support once again our frustration, but we do have a wonderful relationship with RMS. That is RMS. It will happen. We'll get there. We'll just keep chipping away. Councillors, any more questions to do with the report? I just need to comment, councillors, to do with the make everyone aware, because we seem to be having a little bit of success with our Brookston Highway and the New England intersection of Valentine Road. They've been out there as recent as a fortnight ago and fell the pine trees off that bank and done a heap of work there over a couple of days, so hopefully we'll see some more work done there. Because I do note in here that we won't drop this until it's fixed, and I plan to just keep banging on about that all the time. But we are seeing work done there. I don't know what the next plans are. Hopefully for your son, Michael, we might find out. He was there. I want to see a big excavator, chop it away. But anyway, all good. There's no more questions, councillors. All happy to receive a note. Favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, move on to page 86 in your hard copy. It's item NM 718. It's notice motion about improving farm water. Councillor Berry being the author of this, you happy to move along those lines? Thank you. Second, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. No change. You're into my skills. Councillor Berry, I'll hand over you to present your notice of motion.
I think it was self-explanatory, when Councillor Petrie brought up about using council excavators to clean out farm dams, I agree with it, but I think the best idea would be land care funding, and there's a lot more money in the bucket than what we've had to do for farm dams. And it has been done before, so I can't see why it can't be done again using land care funding. It's a fairly big bucket of money. And this drought's not only just affecting us, it's affecting most of Australia where they get land care funding, even the areas where they don't, not in drought, they still access land care funding. So,
just my question, councillor, which I did raise, is it on that page 86, with some regulations where stop water dam should be relaxed? You got any clarity? Well, just a bit of clarity for the meeting on that.
Look, I'm not too sure about all the regulations. I did have all the regulations for the eastern side, and I gave them to somebody that built a dam and got away with it, so good luck with him. But it was based on rainfall,
Yeah.
the size of the property, or it was, I should say, the average rainfall for that area.
Yeah.
So, I forget what the percentage was, but you're allowed to catch so much based on that.
So that's what you're relating to there?
That's what I'm
That's what
relating
you're
to,
referring to?
yeah.
Okay,
And on the western side, I think it's totally different again.
okay. Thank you. Councillors, any questions to Councillor Berry to do with his notice of motion? Councillor Bronwyn, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, my thing about cleaning farm dams had nothing to do with council money or council excavators. It was about money, that $1 million. What I was just wondering about this is it says to direct land care funding. So is that all land care funding? Does that mean all the other programs have to drop by the wayside? I know some people here have tried to use land care funding for troughs and tanks, but they had trouble because the ratios, like the cost of the troughs and the tanks and the pumps, etc., versus the one-for-one input, and some were knocked back. A lot were knocked back because they weren't deemed to be high enough priority. But the other thing that currently the harvestable right is 10% of your rainfall runoff, which the Water New South Wales worked out on a Department of Water on a map thing. And on the eastern side, I know we'd be likely to get an increased harvestable right because of the more rain on the eastern side.
Yeah.
Because 10% is those values. It's not enough given the rainfall that does come on there. The western side is completely different setup, but the same rules apply right across the state. It's just that the map changes how much rain.
Yeah.
You multiply your area of land by whatever zone you're in, that's your harvestable right, rather than licensing every dam unless they're really giant ones. But I just was wondering about this, the wording to direct land care funding. Is it, you say all or to increase land care, increase the proportion of land care funding, or just exactly what?
Whichever way you want it, just to direct land care funding, it can be a lot, it can be small amounts. So if I'm happy for a amendment to the motion for all land care funding or whatever.
So, Councillor, what you're referring to, you wanted to that actually notice motion to be more specific,
Well,
to do with actually where the funding's going to part of land care funding's coming from.
No, I just wanted clarity on whether the intention was to direct all land care funding, which I don't think you're ever going to get across the board, or whether it would be to perhaps to increase land care funding rather than just something, because at the moment land care funding does direct towards that, but it's just what Gary's on about is to have a higher percentage of this type of activity being funded through land care.
To assist in building secure.
I mean, I'm happy to leave it as it is. I just wanted to just double check what his intention was. And so as this goes forward, they can get in the background and to say that we want to see more of it happening. That's fine. Wording's fine.
You want to make any changes, Councillor? Yeah. Any more questions to Councillor Berry to move with this motion? Councillor Peters?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
With the land care funding, I'm not quite sure. Was how you going to spend it on private property, the land care funding, by cleaning out dams on private property?
Happens all the time.
Yeah, I've had some trouble. Right every time I put a spade into a dam, I just don't looking over my shoulders.
You don't get approval. Councillor Michael Peter. Good night, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your attendance.
No worries.
All right, mate. Okay, councillors, the motion's there. All happy to be supportive of the notice. Did you have a question, councillor? I apologise. Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mr Mayor.
Yep.
I'm wondering, could we incorporate dams, from my way of thinking, should be fenced off? And then you wouldn't have the problem of desilting later on, contaminating the water in the dam, and having stock in the dam right now. This is what's happening. So I'm wondering if some of that money should be channeled into troughs.
Well, I did put in there, what is it, building assist facilities, like water, treatment tanks, troughs, pumps, piping, etc. So I didn't allow that. I didn't allow for fencing dams off, but that could be part of it. I know Clarence Katzman years ago told people to fence waterways
that's all, so.
I think
it's all part of land care.
Well, if I can, councillor, because to go back to the recommendations, asking council to write. So, but with those dot points, that's not easy, that's not hard to add an extra dot point in there. If to move it, to carry it as a move on those motions. Councillor Bronwyn?
Just on that, if you put a trough on, you have to put a trough on every dam, which would also require a pump on every dam, particularly on flat land.
Why?
No, you wouldn't.
The water only run uphill.
No, because you can put a trough on each side of the fence and have it, you can have 3 fences adjoining one dam, and you can have the water being pumped out of one pump to those 3 troughs. Because those troughs are automated. There's a ball, the stock has a ball, and if the water level drops, there's not much monitoring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it depends if you look where the dams are now and the sizes of them. Sometimes they're little dams scattered all over. You have a lot of pumping and piping to get water into troughs everywhere. Because I was saying we're quite extreme infrastructure, namely pumps, to be able to do it. But the other thing is, Landcare already, in order to get that pumping and troughs and tanks, you are required to fence off your waterways to do it, to access that money now. And the other issue, if you do that under new biodiversity laws, if you have any public conservation funding, that land therefore is excluded from the new land codes and becomes completely outside of completely outside the provisions of the new local land services native vegetative. So you will actually take your country away from any ability to control regrowth, etc., through that mechanism. You'd have to go through a completely separate set of rules through Office of Environment Heritage, just a warning to people.
Anyway, councillor, so the motion's there. All in favour of the motion? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillor Berry. Councillors, page 88 in hard copy, item RES 8/18, councillor Reid. Council resolution registered September 2018. I'll move and second to deal with this, please. Councillor Bob Rogan, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Brian Murray. And I'll thank you. I'll hand over to our CE, Mr. Terry Dodds.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll accept questions on individual items.
Questions to our CE to do with the resolution register. Councillor Rogan.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Terry, with the page 17, incorrect information at 16. Regards the grant funding application for the street, the amenity of the main street. Due September 2018, is that done?
Yes.
Is that the one that Robert Perry was?
Through you, Mr Mayor, Robert Perry, Tourism Officer, Manager of Economic Development and Community Engagement, myself, Peter Reid, there was one other lady, I can't remember her name. There was a handful of people involved. The vast majority of the work being done by Caitlin and Mr Perry. Oh, and Essential Energy.
Thank you, Councillor Rogan. Any more questions to our CE to deal with the resolution registered? Councillor Bronwyn Petrie.
Yeah, I was just wondering how those public meetings went with the engineers, with the arsenic thing. I thought the dam was in here. I was going to say that there's pictures of the dam wall in our operations report.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think dams disappeared, but yeah, just wondering how the public meetings went.
If I can answer that. Terry, I was speaking to, because I was out there in the evening, speaking to Jessica Gibbons, who hosted that with the 2 other representatives. I think pretty good, councillor. They had about 6 or 8 people come and see them, who would be not so much affected but involved with what was going to happen there. But I think it was a pretty good afternoon. That was.
The only other thing I had, I just was wondering if you knew of a date for the Timber Council's meeting.
Oh, I haven't heard anything, councillor. Yeah. You mean as their conference or when they regularly meet?
If they've got a proposed proposed date for the next meeting, since Michael and I now are going.
Yep, okay, we'll find it out, but I haven't personally, unless council's been something else. But we'll find out, councillor, but thanks for the question. Any other questions to CE to do with the resolution register? Councillor Berry?
Page 8 and 9, Maryland Dunville Road closure. I'm just wondering when we're going to actually name the road. It says 5 down the bottom there, once such sections of the road are part of this national park, we're accepted them to rename them. I presume we'll be going through the usual due process to call for nominations for names, etc.
Through Mr Mayor, with Andre's temporary absence, we'll either refer this when he comes back or take on notice.
Any other questions to the CE to deal with the resolution register? Okay, councillors, the report's there, all happy to receive and note. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, that's the end of our ordinary, of our open meeting. We now go into confidential. Can I have a move and a second to go into confidential, please? Councillor Murray, I thank you. Seconded by Councillor Sawyer, and I thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item COM 17/18. Council resolved to proceed with the sale of the freehold land at 159 Rouse Street, Tenterfield, by way of public auction in accordance with 12.1.2 of the variation of lease registered number AN204012E and delegate the authority to the Chief Executive to negotiate with any potential purchaser once the reserve price as agreed in the confidential part of the ordinary meeting held on the 26th of September 2018 is achieved and execute a contract for the sale and transfer upon the successful sale of the land and authorise the seal of the Tenterfield Shire Council to be fixed to the contract between Tenterfield Shire and the successful purchaser. And the other item, councillors, is item EC 022/18. And the officer's recommendation that council accept all submitted tenders as a panel preferred suppliers for casual hire plant and lane. So there's an edit that came out of that. That's to do with confidential business. And I'll close the meeting. I thank you all very much for your attendance. I look forward to the next 2 years. Thank you for your support. The meeting is ended. Peace and harmony.